Okay, good afternoon to all of you. People who have joined us online, also good afternoon. Now, before I begin, just a quick announcements for the people who have joined the course. Now, anybody who has joined the 21st August batch, the very first thing you are required to now do is, if you go to his subscriptions, you will find the Telegram channel. Okay. Now, in this channel, you will be finding all the updates. Okay. Updates on the classes that I will have. Okay. You have, this is your, the very first session that we are having, right? Okay. So the very first thing is, again, just a quick update for all the people who have joined in, is that when you go through your subscriptions, you will find a new Telegram link where you will get all the class related updates. Okay, pehli cheez. Second thing that you will see is you have, in fact, you have a portal where your lectures are there. What is done here, you will see the entire crash course 2026. After some time, I'll tell you what is the utility of it. And of course, you have live offline classes that will go on. Right? In addition to this, we will be having tests. Tests are followed by test discussions. I'll be coming to each aspect, but just quick announcement for some people who have joined in. Okay. And there will also be one-to-one discussions which I take. This happens both online and offline. Online, I do this via Zoom. Okay. Wherein I have your copy with me. If you just want to see how this happens, even in the YouTube, if you go. This I have done with a lot of students who are writing the mains of this year. If you go to YouTube and Sunya, you'll get a hang of how this happens. Offline, so this happens directly face to face. You can have your checked or unchecked copy. 1 second. Okay, just to get an idea of how this happens, you go to the video section. If you scroll down, perhaps you'll find at least one video, right? Almost for 1 hour, and this is only a truncated part. I was just discussing the paper 2A of a certain student. Okay, line by line, the feedback I wanted to give. Okay, just to get an idea. Okay, now I'll be going through each topic, each segment in due time. Let us first start with the problem, and then I'll propose my solutions in this program. Now, the very first thing is, this program is targeted for the people who are preparing for 2027. Okay. Now, you may have done your foundation maybe last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years before, does not matter. Anybody who is joining the course, the only expectation I have from them is they know the syllabus, they have the basic notes. You may have not done the foundation classes, okay, but you have some foundation notes that you have read. Okay, because if you are directly a beginner and a fresher, then this course is not for you. Okay, so 2027, anybody who is targeting, and if you are totally lost, you have not read PSIR for some time, if there's an issue of consistency, if there's an issue of motivation, whatever challenge you have faced. Okay, so 2027 aspirants, just that you may have your FC notes from any source, or you've done FC classes anywhere. Okay, now second thing is, many students who join this course, especially those who will join maybe after when the mains is done, would have given mains at least. Okay, kisi ne 1 time, 2 times, depends. But when they are joining, they come with a very precise problem. The problem is issue of marks. Okay, somebody is stuck in the below 250 mark zone, right? Anybody who has not yet attempted mains, you will also face the challenge. Okay, the challenge that there are, the PSIR is a very popular optional, very popular. Many people take PSIR, and year after year you will see rank number 1 getting PSIR. So even if you don't like it, not like it, you will go with the herd mentality. Let's take PSIR. You you like international relations. Let's take PSIR. Fine. So what happens? There's a lot of crowding that happens in the optional. Let's be honest about that. Fine. But there will be some people who will always score good marks and they will be above the bell curve. The bell curve is where most of the students are stuck. Now you want to be on this side. You want to score more than an average candidate. See, whenever people write mains, in fact, the mains of PSIR is on 30th of August. And that is the date everybody should know, because on the 30th of August, we will again be meeting. 9 to 12, the very first paper will happen. 12:30 onwards, our discussion will start. And my discussion of the optional paper happens over a week. And we will be writing the entire paper, irrespective of whatever segment you know or you don't know. बहुत ही interactive होगा. I give a lot of assignments and many questions I will write with you in the class itself. And there is no need for you to have a prerequisite knowledge. Sir, I have not done 2A. Why are you asking me to write the name? Whatever we know, if you take some assistance, we will be completing that, because that will give you a huge boost. Because when 2A we will be doing, you will know what is the expectation of UPSC. Okay? Now, these are the students that are joining. Third thing is where almost everybody unites. Right? The issue of scholars, the issue of keywords, and ultimately the issue of answer writing. Now, in this class, I want to ask how many of you have done Hobbes any time in your life? पढ़ा है Hobbes के बारे में, सुना हुआ है, ठीक है? Let me also see people who are joining this online. Please write a hi. Some of your names I know, some of you who have enrolled, but at least I'll get to know. And this is an open class. We'll try to make it participative. ठीक है? How many of you have done Hobbes? I think many of you. ठीक है? Please take a blank page. Write a question. And this is, again, I'll tell you what are the challenges that happen when we write. The question for you is, the state of nature is a war of all against all. The state of nature is a war of all against all. State of nature is a war of all against all. ठीक है? Whatever comes to your mind, I'll be setting a timer of 5 minutes. जो भी दिमाग में आ रहा है, it does not have to be correct, right? You have to just fill one page, whatever you can. And of course, अब question is on Hobbes, don't write Plato, है ना? इतना भी नहीं, हाँ. आप अभी जो समझ में आ रहा है आप लिखो, है ना? Don't take my assistance right now. People who are watching this, in this session, I will be putting some of these surprise elements. And you just have 5 minutes. We'll not overshoot. Achha, you've joined my foundation recorded batch. You please drop me a message. How many lectures have you done, etc. Okay? Because this course takes into account current affairs, updation, answer writing part. Only if somebody has done the foundation, then it is useful. Okay? So cartoon word, whatever your real name is, you must be having my contact. Okay? All right. You have missed the opportunity to write. That was a stress question. Okay. I'm just starting it. Can you pass on can you pass on the copy? It's a good attempt in 5 minutes. We could have added a couple of keywords like life is nasty, solitary, poor, brutish, short, etc. etc. Okay. But I'm happy that in 5 minutes, some of you are able to write and bring some points. Very good. You've also written. People have used Leviathan. Very good. In this question, na, direct linkage with liberty is not needed. हमें explain करना पड़ेगा what is nature of nature and then what is prescription of Hobbes. Now, your friend has started with Pierre and I ever bond together. That's a good way to start. brutish, nasty, poor, short, good. ये क्यों लिखा है बताओ, यहाँ से यहाँ. When was Hobbes born and when this statement does not make sense, बताओ. Are you aware of this or not? नहीं. When was Hobbes born? Any idea? When was that? World War II, 1900s, 300-year gap. गलत है. One good thing that this student has done, he has compared Hobbes' state of nature with Kautilya's Matsya Nyaya. ठीक है, अभी I'll just bring some of these elements. Good, वो अच्छा है, but expand नहीं हो पा रहा है. That is also a challenge. See, the only reason why I have pushed this to you, many people will say what? I know exact demand, but how do I fill? Let's say this is a 10 marker. How do I fill 2 pages in this? मैं लिखूंगा कैसे? You will say, sir, I know, life is nasty, poor, brutish, short. My answer ends. And this is also where you need to know how to construct questions. For example, if I take this question only as the base, any question which we write will have an introduction. In fact, my classes are designed in a manner, every topic I teach will have an introduction, will have its body, will have a criticism, it will have a conclusion. There is an introduction that is needed, there is a body. There, in most cases, this is there. Okay? If you want to get 1 mark extra, एक star mark I am mentioning, and we can talk about compare. I'll tell you how to do this. And I've taken WPT because mostly people are comfortable in WPT. But that does not mean they'll be able to write a good answer in WPT. After this, I'll give you one more question. And that question I will just see whether you are able to think on it or not. See, our idea is everybody at some point of time is a Gyani in PSIR. Okay? If I meet anybody, you will say, sir, Israel, Iran, this is happening, right? But the point is, are we able to articulate it in 10, 12 minutes with the requisite depth, with relevant keywords? That is more important. And that is exactly what will fetch you marks. Okay? Now, if I say state of nature is a state of war or war of all against all, depending on your level of preparation, everybody is going to start with Hobbes. Now, when you're going to start with Hobbes, you will mention his book, Leviathan. In this question, because there are 2 ways, either you expand on Hobbes' state of nature directly, I can expand on it directly, right? Or if I'm not very clear on my introduction, I will simply talk about Hobbes' contribution to Western political thought, broadly speaking. I can introduce Hobbes in a very simple manner. But this is where entire crux of my answer lies in my body. I have to expand on this. State of nature is a war of all against all. First thing to know, state of nature is a pre-political entity, yes or no? Pre-political means before the state exists, there is a state of nature. Now, when Hobbes says state of nature is a war of all against all, how does he come to that conclusion? Which means I have to talk about his method. How many of you remember or know Hobbes uses a resolutive compositive method? सुना है कभी? नहीं भी सुना है तो when we revise it, I think some of you are aware. Good. Even if you don't know, but see, point is I have to expand on this. The question is not just on Hobbes. The question is very specific to his state of nature. Method के लिए I need to know his views on human nature. Now we know Hobbes is a utilitarian. Hobbes roots human psychology. He knows man is pessimistic, but he wants to maximize his pleasure, minimize his pain. This we are aware of. ये हमें पता है. And from that he says, when there is no state of nature, then the life is, and we remember 5 keywords. This is a logical way to think about an answer. इसलिए you then don't have to cram. Many people think PSIR is about cramming, not necessarily. Only the factual details. Let's say some scholar, I have to remember. Let's say CB Macpherson is a name. He criticizes Locke, for example. I need to remember that. But many points I can deduce logically. So I know state of nature is a pre-political entity. I will talk about his method, and he analyzes human nature, which is this. And based on this, he gives his analysis that it is pure chaos. Without state, there is pure chaos. And he uses this analysis, Hobbes, to actually justify an absolutist state. ये जरूर लिखना पड़ेगा हमें. Our answer would be incomplete if we don't mention that. He is telling about state of nature ultimately to justify Leviathan. Which is why we say Hobbes starts as an individualist and ends as a absolutist. Right? This is what is there. But if you want this, many students I am sure will do. Anybody who has read PSIR अच्छे से will do this. Now, in talking about this, you can talk about his experiences of the Armada, Spanish Armada, right? That is why he also used to say fear and I were drawn together. You started with that. That's a good way to start. And we understand how fear is very central to Hobbes' political thought. And fear is what? Fear is human nature. People are inherently insecure, and Hobbes uses a keyword. Man is animus dominandi. That means man is a power-seeking animal. Why is that? Man is fearful. To avoid your fear, you are seeking more security. And later in IR, you will see Hobbes' analysis, Machiavelli analysis becoming central to Morgenthau's analysis. Morgenthau goes for a actor-based analysis. And later on, Kenneth Waltz says Morgenthau is not doing it correct. Kenneth Waltz says we want a institution-specific analysis. Okay? Although that is not needed in this. That is the connection I'm making. इतना हम सोच पा रहे हैं? Now, to get 1 or 2 extra marks, this is something that we have to do. Now, when you write it, one thing you can do, that Hobbesian state of nature is different from Lockean state of nature. And again, a small tip I have, generally try to compare as much as you can. Comparison shows the depth of your understanding. अगर गांधी का क्वेश्चन है, bring in Ambedkar. Ambedkar है, bring in Gandhi. If it is Gandhi or Ambedkar, bring always Gramsci. These are things I will tell you throughout my classes. In fact, if you see the big fat blue book, Bipin Chandra, India's Struggle for Independence, uska first introduction padhoge. He uses the term, Gandhi's strategy is Gramscian war of position. And we will do the same thing when I do paper 1B with you. The Marxist analysis of Indian national movement. So that is one point I can make. So one I can compare with Locke. And one of your friends in the class, very good example. ये तो मैंने compare किया within WPT. Can I compare it with IPT also? Yes. I can compare to Kautilya's मत न्याय. In fact, Kautilya का जो state है, Kautilian state is there to prevent मत न्याय. The Kautilian king is to prevent मत न्याय, Vijigishu. What is मत न्याय? Anarchy, right? There's a fish pond, total anarchy. To prevent that, you have this whole part. Can we say this? Okay. This again I'm telling you, maybe you will not be able to write everything, but you should follow a structure, which means don't overemphasize on this. Do not ignore this. At least, if not both of them, at least have at least one of them to compare. And end it with the conclusion. Conclude कैसे कर सकते हो इस क्वेश्चन को? अब conclusion में, because you're talking of state of nature, you can end with social contract. That can be one way. That Hobbesian understanding of state of nature ultimately influenced the Western modern social contract. हो गया? Something like this. Okay? Or you can even link it to, sometimes people say current affairs se link karo. Now here I am putting a star mark. I have seen many people making wrong linkages. कैसे? some time back, only I think few days back, I shared in one of the groups. I had asked a question on Plato's communism or something like that. A student has read somewhere, every topper is saying link it to current affairs. What they will do, they had said, they had mentioned a political person's name in India, and they had said this person is the embodiment of Plato's philosopher king. This can be your own opinion, but this is not correct way to do so. ठीक है? Hobbes में कर सकते हो, कैसे करोगे? I'll tell you. Hobbes में sometimes even newspaper articles use the term when you talk of surveillance state, etc. I can bring in digital Leviathan, right? Government's power increasing, but this whenever you have to do, and this is again something I say, whenever you are confused, sir, should I use this? Is it correct? Should I add? Verify it once, then only add it. Okay, because sometimes in your head it looks such a good point, but ho sakta hai it is factually incorrect. Same thing can also happen with fascism, any other topic. You try to make a linkage that looks cool to you, but it may not be actually correct. Okay? So I'm basically saying this is simply a format. This question is one of the most repeated question on Hobbes. Okay. And with this, what I wanted to tell you is your preparation without writing answers is incomplete, specifically for the students who have done foundation. Foundation generally is what? Carefree, aram se, you've seen the topics, notes ban rahe hain, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 registers you have made. You feel great about it. But the moment now you have to write a test, you will panic. How to revise, what to revise. Now you see some good toppers short notes. Okay. I think some of you would have already seen Utkarsh Dwivedi sir's notes. Very good, very short notes. Okay? But the point is, everybody else is also seeing that. Second, you have put your heart and soul into some course. Now you're seeing somebody else's totally short notes. Okay? You don't have to waste the time that you have spent. But counterpoint is, if somebody has made very good short notes, should I make use of it? You should make use of it. But you try to make it your own. Toppers notes से फायदा सिर्फ किसका होता है? Topper का, because they have made it themselves. Unless you read them multiple times, you make it your own, you make it more contemporary, you will not be able to benefit it. Every year topper notes, every year new topper will bring notes. But yeah, every year everybody is benefited, not really. Okay, which means you should have your method to summarize and shorten down your notes. Now, if this is clear, I will tell you your answer writing is a reflection of two things. How well you know the content, but many times you are not able to break down the question itself. ये मैंने आपसे बहुत अभी आसान सवाल पूछा, डायरेक्ट है. ठीक है? Please write one more question. I'm just opening up the subject, just through a couple of questions, saying that we sometimes know a topic. Everybody here knows WPT? ठीक है? Let me see the, I'll just tell you the exact phrasing of that PYQ. That will make then more sense. How many of you saw the essay paper of today? देखा किसी ने? You know that there is mains going on? You've seen the paper. Okay. Any topic that one is able to understand? Okay. Please write this question. Classic question. And here may again, I'm not interested to know whether you remember the content or not. This is just to tell you we have a lot of different type of questions that are coming in. Please write the question. Trace the evolution of Western political thought. Trace the evolution of Western political thought from ancient to contemporary period. From ancient to contemporary period. Trace the evolution of Western political thought from ancient to contemporary period. सिर्फ you have to think of the structure. Please don't write the answer to this. आपको ये सोचना है इस क्वेश्चन में what is to be done, right? Normal जिंदगी is what? You know the syllabus of WPT. चलो let's quickly see the syllabus of the WPT. Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke. ठीक, everybody makes this mistake. It is Mill. उसके बाद रूसो है ही नहीं सिलेबस में. नहीं, वो हम पढ़ते अलग से, but he is not there in the syllabus. हाँ, so ठीक, again I'm repeating: Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke. Next one becomes tricky. Next is Mill, Marx, Gramsci, Hannah Arendt. Okay. Now, if you don't know anything, what you will do? You will write one paragraph for each thinker. Is that a good way to write? आपने thinker का नाम तो लिखा. Plato did this, but Plato will say something else. Gramsci will say something else. Hannah Arendt will say something else. Again, see the question carefully. सिर्फ ये सोचना है क्या तरीके से लिख सकते हो सवाल को. Just think about it. If you don't remember anything, the simplest approach is thinkers ke through. But is there any other way can we think about this question? Any other way we can think about this question? बोलना नहीं है, लिखना है. The structure बनाइए. Then I'll discuss. I'll give you maybe 2 minutes for this. That's it. Just 2 minutes. That's it. After that, I'll begin discussing about the other facets of the course, etc. And then we'll see. Just think about it. Because see, active brainstorming से हम भागते हैं. अभी stress लग रहा होगा. If I was teaching Plato, you would have felt great. This is where we run from. And especially in my answer writing sessions, I will make you very uncomfortable. But क्या होगा, लिखोगे आप अच्छे से. And I also don't believe in any one perfect answer. There can be multiple ways to write an answer. अभी बस सोचो, just think. And people who are watching this, again, I'm leaving the floor open to you as well. Acha, you're saying evolution of ideas or theory. Okay. If in this question, if you want to go for perfection, आप फंस जाओगे. But I'll tell you a simple way to answer this question. And that will also be not the only way. बहुत तरीके हैं लिखने के. किस को you are able to think of any point? Ujjwal, any point? Contemporary तो बहुत recent है. Evolution देखना है from ancient to contemporary. ठीक है. Ansh, if you want any point to contribute. This is the previous question. Are you aware of this? अच्छा. Anybody else? आप try करोगे? कुछ any point that comes to your mind. From, but वो तो सही है. But from what to what? ठीक है. Still अच्छी thinking है. और कुछ? बहुत बढ़िया. Good. और कोई? You are almost there. और जब मैं आपको आंसर बताऊंगा आपको, अरे ये तो मुझे पता था. ठीक है, fair point. So you're thinking from, let's say, the dark ages, ancient times, when there was no equality, there was slavery, and right now the times of individual. Fair point. Good. और कुछ? देखो इस सवाल में फंसोगे क्यों, आप सोचोगे what paragraphs to have. This is the challenge in this question. 100% agreed. Okay, but if I tell you, you already know the answer to this question, just that you are not looking at it in that manner. In this question, first thing is, if you go by an approach, uh, anybody else who wants to contribute to this question? Right, many people are live, right? Very few are commenting then. Acha, chalo. Here I will say the savior in this. Just a second. See, these are the 10 topics of paper 1A. IPT, WPT is this, other things. ठीक, कभी भी अगर ऐसा सवाल आता है, trace the evolution. This is an open-ended question. You also don't know. Examiner also has not made it specific. सबसे बेस्ट है इस पे जाओ. Best way to go about it. Political theory. Political theory में we already know traditional approaches. You know normative approach. You know empirical approach. That tells you a good evolution. Start with this. If the question is 20 marker, many people will shiver think this is 20 marker. But after this, somebody mentioned, talk about state. Dimension है state. State में give some perspectives of different thinkers. जैसे कि, for example, if I say state, and if I look at any thinker, for example, thinker like Plato, the origin of state for Plato is very different. Yes or no? Right? But the origin of state for Karl Marx is very different. Right? Then concepts like justice. अब ये बहुत अच्छा point है. We know justice remained central for Aristotle, Plato, but it also remained a central virtue for Rawls. Justice is also one very good paragraph that you can write. कर सकते हैं, ठीक? अब इसमें ना point is, don't think, sir, do I need to mention every thinker in one paragraph? No. Ancient I know one, and I know Rawls at the end. I can do that. When I say equality, so in this question, your cheat code was your syllabus only, and pick and choose. And nobody is asking you bring in all the 10, and don't write them first of all. Many people will make a mistake. Plato से शुरू करेंगे, then that is a linear chronological answer. उससे better answer है, take some values and you tell how the values have evolved. Out of all the values, सबसे important value क्या होगी? Justice. When you talk about equality, how will you write it? Question says, trace the evolution from ancient times to contemporary times. Was equality a permanent virtue in ancient times? Not at all. Ancient Greece में inequality was desired. We had slaves. In medieval times, there was no concept of equality. There was divine rights theory. King was the embodiment of divine. Right? But modern times में equality has become, as somebody says, who is this somebody? This is the book of a famous thinker. Dworkin. Dworkin says equality is a sovereign virtue. Okay? Similarly, if you have time and space, depends on the question. Itna bhi likh daloge, this is more than sufficient because major heavy work is done by political theory itself. Political theory itself has evolved from ancient times to modern times. Right? This you can talk about. How rights have evolved. So instead of talking of thinker, talk about the concept and then explain it in a paragraph. This is a very open-ended question, I'm telling you, right? And you're not prepared for such questions. And I'm telling you, in the recent times in 1A, earlier our approach to 1A was just do the PYQs and you're sorted. Now that does not help you directly. Why? Now they're asking you compare, let's say you have Plato. Let's say if the question is compare Plato's theory of justice to Rawls' theory of justice. Or they've also asked you Ambedkar. Now this is where cross connections are going to appear in the paper. If you compare Ambedkar's social justice, can I compare it to Rawls? Can be a question. Ambedkar versus Gandhi can be one question. Ambedkar versus Karl Marx can be one more question. So sometimes when we do the topics, we do it in silos. अंबेडकर पढ़ा, ठीक है, आगे बढ़ गए. गांधी I have read, right? But how to have cross dimensional linkages is you, after you're done with the topic, link it, and we will be linking it. And it does not end here. For example, you see democracy, paper 1A. Democracy is also there in paper 2A. Last year in 2025, they have asked you questions of democratic backsliding, democratic backlash. Very tough question of the 2025. Highly current affairs inspired question. Okay. This year is the year of Gen Z protests, not just in India, around the world. And will not be surprised if you get a question on Gen Z protests in paper 2A. Right? Similarly, the rise of new social movements. And Gen Z protest is also a new social movement, by the way. Fine. With this, see, my point was, when we are seeing the topics and PYQs, okay, until we spend time on it, and this is the time that you have. Fine. Now, I already had taken a crash course that was there for people who are writing mains. In that, I will tell you the practical issues the students will face. I hope we are done with this, right? Now, let me explain my position. I would discussing with you some of these aspects. Right now, in fact, we are today meeting on a very auspicious day because the mains has just started. Now, the window that we are looking for is we are looking from August to December. This is the time frame. Normally, when I teach, okay, again, I have roughly 2 months with me, right? 2 months is also, I will start, let's say, from the 1st of June, and I have to anyhow end by 31st of July. In that, major heavy lifting will be in the classes, because many people have to revise it. Of course, in the classes we cover the PYQs, etc. But of course, the student will get less time for revision, okay, and limited time for answer writing practice, okay. Now, if somebody wants to avoid that, the best time, many people ask, what is the best time to consolidate on optional? The best time is if you use your last 4 months, September, October, November, December, okay, and these months also have festivals. You will have Rakhi be coming in, okay, you will have Diwali coming in, and then you have even bigger festival of pollution that will come after that. So there are going to be systemic issues, okay, which we will be facing. But if we utilize these 4 months well, that helps, right? Now, what is to be done? Second question is, karna kya hai is samay hame, right? To understand what is to be done, again I will first see, let me first again outline what are the problems somebody faces in their preparation, including the aspect if somebody has scored lesser marks. And for each problem, we need to know what we will be doing so that you have exact clarity. Second thing, the better outcome that you expect from a course depends on how diligent you do the homework. Some of you are already part of my GS classes, you know the kind of homework I give. And sometimes I appreciate the students who spend 1 or 2 hours extra in doing the homework. That is only for your own good. Fine? Now, one by one I'll tell you, and then I'll come to this part. And people who are watching this online, if you have not written your challenges, please write it. And challenges I'm writing after somebody has done FC. Okay, I'm not saying that you don't have a base. And after doing the FC or even after writing mains, the very first challenge is bulky notes can be multiple registers. First issue. Second issue, I think, is one of the most common issues. Many people just believe that, okay, we do a GS compilation that will come for IR and that will exactly suffice for PSIR. How many of you have this strategy in general? ज़्यादातर लोग ये करते हो? How many of you actually have a habit of reading newspapers? Honestly बताएंगे. Which newspaper आप पढ़ते हैं? And Express आप? अंश? Express. The Hindu. ठीक है? Any last 1-2 weeks में anything that has struck your imagination in PSIR? Any good article you are aware of? हाँ ठीक है, good. The Islamic NATO. Any other example? कुछ तो आर्टिकल मैंने शेयर करे, हाँ ठीक है, ओके. और कोई वो आपने पढ़ा ही नहीं पढ़ा है? नेशनलिज्म, ठीक है, गुड, ओके. हाँ अब मत तू, ठीक है, then that's good, ठीक, good. If you have a habit of reading, nothing like it. This also I will simplify, okay. Some good readings I also share. But every good article, let's say on India, West Asia, there are 14, 15 good editorials. We will be summarizing it entirely in your PSI current affairs. वो आपके notes में मिल जाएगा आपको. Any relevant person who has written something, right? But over and above this, I still want you to read. Why? Because see, just now mains is done. After mains, 2 months, mains results will come out. The student who's going to write an interview, if he or she is not well versed with topics, they will have an issue with articulation. This I am telling you right now. When you will give interview, it can be 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, whenever you have to give. You should have a good knowledge base. And right now, if you put 30 minutes also, 20 minutes, and every day maybe no good editorials there, leave that day. But you will get, for example, recently, Yogendra Yadav wrote a very good piece on caste census. Pratap Bhanu Mehta regularly writes, C. Rajamohan regularly writes. Any one newspaper that you are reading, anyone. And this is an exercise which will also help you with reading comprehension of CSAT, which will also help you have decent points always available. You just do this 30 minutes for 4-5 days a week, and you do that over a span of 4 months. You will tell me after 1 month, you feel, sir, I feel better. You have good vocabulary, number one. And second, you have a diverse range of points. But ये पूरी तरह से आप पे depend करेगा. At max, I can share with you for every week good 2, 3, 4 articles which I read, right? But if it is a personal exercise which you do, in fact, not just this, I will also be sharing with you a lot of podcasts. Okay? Most probably in your channels, I will give you 2 podcasts to listen to. Short hai. One is on India's involvement in Arctic Ocean, very recent, 20 minutes Shashi Tharoor, and one is a recent commentary on India-China relations. बहुत छोटे-छोटे हैं, but the ones which are impactful, which I've resonated with, which I'll share. For example, ये सब चीजें हम अगर करते रहेंगे, the problem of current affairs gets sorted. Otherwise, this problem literally haunts candidates. And let us be very clear. If you have seen the paper of 2025 or 2024, and honestly go to these papers, especially 2025, paper 2A में, barring 3-4 questions, no question was static in nature. Donald Trump alone had 3 questions. उनके नाम से 3 क्वेश्चन थे. ठीक है? ASEAN में very relevant specific current affairs. Democratic backsliding, backlash, very relevant current affairs. If you have not, आपने नहीं पढ़ा है, you will be forced to write answers from 2B, which means not following current affairs reduces your choice in the exam. Okay? Second thing. Third thing is because of perhaps bulky registers or maybe fragmented nature of current affairs, your revision is not happening. This takes a back seat. Okay? Fourth thing, अच्छा revision हो, मतलब how would you have revision unless you have short notes? Fourth thing, answer writing. Some people are very good with paper 1A, they only write 1A. In 1A, they are good in some sections. I normally see people will always write questions on WPT, IPT, or mostly WPT. The moment I give them question on M.N. Roy, okay, Dharm Shastra, they will say, sir, okay, fine. In fact, I had taken a whole day class on IPT, Indian Political Thought. After that class, I got to know many people who had skipped IPT, completed it. That was their base notes. अब आप सोचो. अब I cannot be happy also, I cannot be sad also listening that. I was happy because people were watching the video, but I was also sad कि people were treating only that as their base source. बाकी वो IPT छोड़ के गए थे कि देखा जाएगा सब 8 में 5 तो करने होते हैं, right? So the point is, if you have any pain point, you have to first know. Paper 1A में, I will again give you a, let's say, quote-based question in paper political theory. Many people will struggle. But if I give you direct question, if I write a question on Rawls' justice and communitarian critique, you will be very comfortable. So you need to know, and you need to know the changing trends. So when I'm saying answer writing, everybody has a different pain point. Some of you are not able to expand. Many people are with the humanities, many people are with the science or let's say engineering backgrounds. Okay. You know the concept, but you are not able to fill the pages. You have a habit of thinking in bullet points. ठीक? How to fill the page? आपको सर ये तो पता है, ये लिखना भी होता है. The point is, there's an introduction, there's a body, ये भी है pain point. Other pain point in answer writing for many people is paper 2. Let's say, अभी recently a term that is in news, UC Digest trap. This term is related to which countries? India, nahi, China and US, because of their great power contestation. Okay. In fact, the essay topic of this year, if you have seen, when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Is the quote I start US China trade war with. ठीक, बहुत common quote है वो. This they have asked you in essay, and that essay has a IR dimension this time. Okay. So paper 2 में many people, for example, if the question comes on WTO, functionalism, realism, etc., or many pain point, comparative politics, politics of representation, participation, पहली चीज क्या है? Notes are not prepared, or if you've read your notes, they were done some time back. Now when you're reading those notes, you're not able to get the essence of it. Second, अगर यही नहीं बनेगा तो ये कैसे होगा? ठीक है? This is also a challenge. And lastly, if you have these challenges, those who have given the mains, the scores will be plateauing. Right? And when I'm saying plateauing, maybe 100, 200 marks. Anything less than 250 for a year. This year, 290 marks was the highest. Agar 290 highest hai, if you are more than 270, 265, 270, then still fine if you have left a couple of questions. But agar usse kam hai hamara, if we have to be strict on ourselves, there is a gap that we have to fill in. Simple si baat hai. ठीक है? Ab if the topper score is 320, 325 for a certain year, if I'm then scoring 270, then even that then is less. This always depends on relative marking of that year. So you cannot pre-plan ki sir I want to score 270 marks in the paper. It depends on relative marking not only of your optional but all the other optionals. And there have been instances sometimes economics mein paper 2 sometimes 100 marks is out of syllabus. Yet toppers in that year will score 140 150 marks in that paper. Kyun? Relative marking hai jitna part attempt kara. Whatever you have attempted, you've gotten good marks out of that. Fine. If I see these problems, okay, what I am proposing, okay, and see these are some problems. इससे सबसे बड़ी problem है which I know and I think feedback. तीन चीजें, right? The issue of consistency is, see, all of you know that you have to study, but not everybody is going to study every week. If you take a week off, there's a high chance the other week may also go for a toss. And unless we have defined timelines in our mind, everybody will waste time. Simple सी बात है. अगर time की priority नहीं है, you will waste time. Howsoever good a candidate you are. पहली चीज. Second thing is direction. Direction is sometimes you are over enthusiastic. For one topic you overread, but that means you have to pay a cost. Other topics पर time नहीं बचेगा. Okay. Sometimes here also a student will ask me, sir, should I read Haywood or Bailey Smith for this part of a paper, right? And I very well know he will buy both the books. He will perhaps go through one or two chapters, but he will not do anything after that. अगर मैंने book पढ़ी है और उस book से अगर if I have not jotted down anything, if it is not in a ready digestible format, it is as good as not reading it. I am also not a big fan of supporting and recommending books. I can tell you 50 books, but I know it is not of value because आप पढ़ नहीं पाओगे. If you have your notes, if you cram your notes अच्छे से, and I'm literally saying cram, and if you replicate that in the exam, that is a higher chance of getting a return. Marks मिलते हैं replication पे. You have to focus how much of you what you read are you able to reproduce it in the tests that you have. अगर कर पा रहे हो, good enough है. There will be hardly any topic after you have done with my classes that you will feel sir मुझे इसमें नहीं आ रहा. In fact, you will be even surprised. Many topics which you feel your notes are sufficient, I will go one step beyond. But my classes will be highly PYQ aligned. Okay. Anybody who has seen the kind of handouts I share for a PSIR class? Acha, so I'll share, maybe somebody is watching it. I'll share the format of what I go ahead. Third thing is feedback. Ab dekho. If you are writing answers in political science, okay, many times the issue is everybody has a different flavor of writing. Okay. But sometimes you get a very generic feedback. Okay. Now what we have is we have a two-layered evaluation. Okay. Which means first, if you want, you can get your copy checked. I have a team of evaluators which is working, right? After you have, we have a checked copy, we can discuss the entire copy. However, there are some students who directly discuss the copy with me. Yes, sir, now I want to discuss. I discuss the questions. In fact, I will comment on your grammar, keywords, writing, analysis, interlinkage, all of these parts. Any student who has done 3 or 4 sessions, and if you have any of your seniors or anybody who's done it, you ask the feedback. Okay. इसके बाद you get to know कि ऑप्शन में लिखने कैसा होता है. बहुत बार क्या होता है, you have a misconceived notion. GS में to a large extent this problem is solved. But for an optional, and I will tell you my experience also, sometimes when I was writing, somebody will simply write add C Raja Mohan. My point is, if I just add C Raja Mohan, will it give me 1 mark extra? Or should I add any analysis? Will that give me 1 mark extra? Or the mere name will give me 1 mark extra? So sometimes when I get a feedback, sometimes that is not very clear. Okay? Because sometimes the evaluator will be limited only to the model answer. Model answer में X लिखा है, X लिखेंगे, marks मिल जाएंगे. But is that the real understanding? No. Right? As a teacher, I will tell you, there are multiple perspectives. A model answer can only reflect a half of those perspectives. So if you know the writing and the thought behind it, and if you can replicate, that is there. Here also there is huge confusion. Sir, people will ask, sir, should I mention 10 scholars in the answer? Or 5 scholars? So I ask him, is it written in the UN Charter? बताओ, लिखा है UN Charter में? It is nowhere written. In fact, one of the most expensive and the most well-written magazines is Economist. If you read the articles of Economist, वो एक scholar नहीं quote करते हैं, 0 scholars. Right? At max, if they quote somebody, let's say somebody from Trump's government, they'll mention the name and Secretary of State, this and that. Fine. उनका पूरा credibility किस पे है? Analysis, very good analysis. But if you look at Foreign Policy magazine, very good articles, Foreign Affairs, very good articles. If they mention a point, for example, they will say the current world order is in crisis. And within 2-3 lines, they will mention that hegemonic stability theory. And they will mention the scholar. लिखेंगे. See? Now, when I give you my notes or PSI current affairs or the classes, I will incorporate both parts in our answer writing. Right? And again, I am also not a huge fan of scholar dumping. For example, I'll show you what a scholar dumping looks like. चलो कोई क्वेश्चन सोचते हैं अभी. So tell me something that is in news. चलो. Indo-Pacific, you know? What is happening to the Indo-Pacific in July? Think of US. जो लोग न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते हैं वो बताएंगे. Is US giving more importance to Indo-Pacific or less importance? Less. पहले ज़्यादा था, अब कम हो गया है. I'll also be covering this in a class. Context बता रहा हूँ, देखो. Context is, let's say US less importance to Indo-Pacific. ठीक? अब let's say I make a question that Asia Pacific, or a new term that is coming is Pacific first approach has overshadowed ये क्वेश्चन है जैसे. Please write this question somewhere. You don't have to write it. I have just created this question on the spot. Pacific first approach has overshadowed the confluence of 2 seas. ये कितने बोला है वैसे? Confluence of 2 seas, बहुत popular phrase है. Shinzo Abe mentioned confluence of 2 seas. Which 2 seas? Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean. When I use this term confluence of 2 seas, I am actually referring to Indo-Pacific. The question says Pacific first approach has overshadowed confluence of 2 seas. ठीक है? Tell me first of all, what is the tone of the question? Question की tone कैसी है? It has already made a judgment. The tone says this approach has overshadowed, right? It is slightly aggressive tone, and I'm passing a judgment, for example. Yes? Tone से मुझे क्या समझ में आ रहा है? This is a US perspective. The tone is this, but if I, in the answer, if I only write this perspective, This is not a good way. क्यों? You have to tell why this appears to be true, but you also have to bring in Indian other perspectives, saying that Indo-Pacific still remains relevant in the 21st century. I hope so. Now, a bad way to write this answer, and something maybe you are guilty of if you write like that way. Let's say this is the copy, 2 pages are there. Now, somebody has explained, ठीक है भाई, Pacific first approach recently seen this and that. Now, according to let's say this person knows 5 scholars. Let's say according to Ashley Tellis, according to Brahmachalani, according to maybe Siraja Mohan, according to Shashi Tharoor, according to Shyam Saran. ठीक? This is actually known as scholar dumping, because you are starting every paragraph with a scholar but not with an argument. ठीक? अब आपने मुझे 5 लोगों ने क्या बोला, इससे मुझे क्या समझ में आ रहा है भाई? Have you taken a good analysis? What is your reflection on that? And when I'm saying your, you don't have to mention कि sir I believe this. नहीं. सवाल क्या है पहले सोचो. And I'm assuming you don't know this question. There are 2 ways. Let's say you ask me, sir, what do you think about the recent Jantar Mantar protest? Let's say if you ask me, I'll say according to. बोल दिया मैंने. फिर आपको भी समझ नहीं आया sir. Sir, what do I make of it? Same thing the examiner will feel when you do scholar dumping. This is scholar dumping. But if I write all the 5 scholars with an argument and then substantiate, same answer एकदम अलग लगेगा आपको. जैसे कि for example, in the second paragraph, I start with the increasing salience of Pacific first approach can be seen in the works of a statement of, I've mentioned. This resonates with Ashley Tellis, American exceptionalism, something like that. Better statement hai, right? This approach can be seen in the recent US actions on Iran, Israel, and its actions on the Indian Ocean, wherein the sinking of Iris Dana ship happened. एक ship sink हुई थी Indian Ocean में, okay? Then people said USA is not respecting Indo-Pacific. Very recently, Trump did not agree to Quad meeting. You know Quad? 4 countries are there, which is why India had to have a foreign ministers meeting of Quad. It was not attended by Donald Trump. I use this, and then I perhaps can mention Dr. S. Shankar in that point. And then, however, you can give a counter perspective. They go, however, Indo-Pacific has X amount of geography, X amount of sea lines of communication, right? And it is still relevant because of the contestation of USA and China, the great power rivalry. And when you conclude it, you can say it will be premature to say America first approach dominates in an unreliable transactional regime under Trump. अब आपने पॉइंट बना दिया अच्छे से. आपने कहा it will be premature to say that. You have not said it is there, it is not there. Or you can say the current approach aligns with US या Monroe doctrine. सुना है ये? Monroe doctrine but under Trump. अब I'm just playing around with current affairs and I'm analyzing the points. The more you do it, आपका डर निकल जाएगा current affairs के सवालों से पूरी तरह से. Right? And after these classes, in fact, I think most probably on this Sunday itself, I'll be announcing that you will have your first current affairs class. Okay? And current affairs class is a constant feature of my course. Okay? Wherein not only see, I just don't tell you this happened. When we do it, I will be telling you static also, linkage also, how to write it in an answer. And in that, we will write one answer live in the class. So that even if you don't have an idea, and सबसे बड़ा डर क्या होता है? The biggest fear is how to start. You have so many doubts in your mind. And as and when few classes happen, in fact, when I'm speaking some things out, you will now understand, Acha, this is the expectation that is needed. If I'm able to fill the expectation, the job is done, yes or no? Okay? Keep that in mind. Now, coming back, we were discussing feedback, consistency, direction. These are the challenges which are there. Now, what is to be done? First thing is, everybody who is here, and at least if you are, let's say if you have to buy the course, if you don't have to buy the course, simple सी चीज ये है, ये याद रखो आपके पास इतना टाइम है, okay? roughly in your mind, September, October, November, December. And again here, this is for the people who are exclusively preparing for PSIR. Some of you will be preparing for state exams also in between. Kisi ka, I think RAS is on 6th of December, UPPC is 6th of December, BPSC is on 25th of October. Many multiple exams are there. And multiple exams is also the new normal. People are now also balancing some exams, which means your time lines should be clear. Okay, what I would want is 3 to 4 hours, 6 days a week. Classes initially will be almost 2 classes a week. After the mains ends, PSR is on 30th. Uske baad se you will have 3 classes. But other 3 days should go in revision and consolidation. ठीक है, पहली चीज. Second thing is, now how to go about it. Classes में कैसे करेंगे? What is the format? This I'll explain to you. Now, again, the people who have joined in later, just a quick update is, if you go to a course subscriptions, you can find the new Telegram channel that is created. Any further update on the group, I'll be sharing through the Telegram channel. ठीक है? Especially for people who have joined in 21st August. ठीक है? अब देखो. Anybody who is new also, if you just want to know how I teach, etc., if you go to the optional, ठीक है? You will find the most recent batch. The most recent batch will be happening live and offline, entire course. Ab dekho, let's say my demo lectures are also there. These classes will again happen with you. This is already there as a demo. For example, Western political thought I was discussing with you. Okay? This is that lecture. I think it's a long lecture. Almost this I had 10 hours, 34 hours, minute एक बार में पढ़ाया था. Of course breaks थे बीच में, ऐसा भी नहीं है. Right? So almost 30 minutes break in between were there after 3 hours. Now, in this, what is the format? Because you also have to consolidate. For every static topic, this is what you will be getting from my side. Okay? And in this topic, the good thing is, every topic starts with its PYQs. And they are arranged in reverse chronology. The one that appeared the recent is there. Okay? Let's say critically examine Plato's theory of forms. Many times you've done entire Plato and aapke notes pe shayad ye ho hi na. Right? Then again, that's a challenge. So, this is there. The notes are very short. In fact, if you see, this is barely 16 pages. Fine. Now, this note will be very helpful for somebody who's directly making notes online. But if you're attending the class offline, my general recommendation is you first carry A4 sheets with you, या basic register with you. उसमें notes बनाओ. But एक step आपको और करना पड़ेगा. उसको short करके आप इसमें लिख डालो फिर. Slight extra effort है, but it will be worth it. Now, उसकी reason है. Sometimes if you have a bigger font, you may not be able to fill everything in one. What will happen? Overspillage will be there. So some students, what they do, they keep some A4 sheets handy. Anything is spilling, they move it to the next page. Okay? Or they print it, not one side, but one side print, one side blank. They can do that. One is that. Fine? So whatever suits you, maybe in a couple of classes, you will understand the format. Okay? Every PYQ dimension will be covered. It is in this format: conclusion, criticism, defense, so on and so forth. Aristotle, every topic I've done in this format, from 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B. In fact, when you do 1B and 2, paper 2 with me, you will see that your notes will be very deficient in many aspects. वो सब यहाँ पे cover हो जाएगा. And while I say this is the crash course, ठीक है? If you've done some of my classes, you will get the proper understanding. When I'm saying crash, it is not that I'm rushing through a concept. Understanding रहेगी आपको पूरी तरह से, ठीक है? So it is not that कि आप सोचो नहीं sir, will you be teaching us in detail and whether we'll be understanding? You will be understanding अच्छे से. This will be done for all your static classes, all the static concepts. Fine? This is just the methodology many people would want to know. And we always believe in sharing a lot of demo videos. In fact, you will find almost 30-40 of my lectures of PSR, of foundation and crash course, so that you also understand the way I teach. Even my mentorship sessions are on YouTube. Okay, even some of the topper testimonials are on YouTube. You can have a look at it. Fine. Other than this format, I hope I've been able to explain. Ab dekho. Let's say we do a topic. Let's say, in fact, one of the first topics that we will be doing is theory. Okay. I've also got a couple of queries on the course planner and the schedule that will be ready most probably in one day or so. Okay. For now, the updates directly I'll be sharing you in the group. The reason for the delay here also is that because right now I cannot for this particular week, there's a challenge in the sense because I'll also be occupied with the people who are writing the mains, the 5 days wala. Okay? So I can only give you and commit a time when I am 100% sure कि वो time मैं बता पाऊंगा. ठीक है? But broadly speaking, by tomorrow the schedule will be there. Normally you will have 2 classes, and weekends, that is Saturday and Sunday, which means almost 2 times a month you will have PSI current affairs class. ठीक है? अब देखो, जैसे कि if you have done political theory, okay, let's say you've done the offline class with me. क्लास के बाद you have made these notes, proper short notes बन गए आपके. Second, you may have foundation notes, any notes that you already have, you have spent time on this. ठीक? अब this is a part you will have to do. After doing the class, do a very quick reading of your notes, very quick skimming. Any keyword, any quote, any dimension you that is relevant, couple of A4 sheets, that's it. इससे ज़्यादा नहीं लगेगा आपको क्योंकि मेजर चीज क्लास में हो गई है. This you can add. Many people ask me, sir, should we skip it? Skipping is not the right manner. इससे क्या रहेगा? You will have the confidence of revising these notes, incorporating it, plus do not make 2 separate things. Even Hobbes was against 2 swords. There can only be 1 sovereign. याद है ना? So only 1 sovereign will be our final notes. And I'm absolutely okay with you incorporating anything that you want. बिल्कुल सही है. अब third and the fourth thing will create all the difference. Third thing I refer to as PYQ structuring. अब यहाँ पे चाहे आप heart बना लो, कुछ बना लो. This is something you have to do with your heart. ठीक है? Which means what is to be done? Let's say you've done Plato. ठीक है? Whenever you find time for this, please buy a book, something like a spiral. ठीक? Write, critically examine Plato's theory of forms. In the first page, you just draw a mind map or a structuring draft. ठीक है? For the questions in which you feel your draft or point is good enough, proceed. Any question you are not able to structure after the class will be shown to me. I will have some points, which means you will write the heading of the question and leave 2-3 pages because हो सकता है first draft अच्छा नहीं हो. When you look at topper copies, they would have done this draft 3, 4, 5 times and now they have imbibed that. Now you may be asking, sir, आप ये क्यों करवा रहे हो हमसे? इसकी यूटिलिटी आफ्टर प्रीलिम्स आपको दिखेगी. You would have written every PYQ draft and many people don't even do it when the mains is with them. टाइम ही नहीं उनके पास करने के लिए. Indirectly we are doing every PYQ. देखो, some PYQs will be covered in the class, some will be there in the test series, but before every test I would want ये करो. इसमें ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लगता. You saw we took barely 5 minutes. At 5 minutes timer I had spent. If you know a topic, you do the brainstorming. अब my sincere advice is whenever you do your original brainstorming, don't outsource it to GPT. ठीक? उससे क्या होगा? Your thinking will get blunt. Again, I'm not saying I'm against GPT or any of these softwares, right? Yeah, LLMs, etc. After you've done your brainstorming, refinement के लिए use करो. Examples के लिए use करो. Value addition के लिए, if you want, you can use it, but don't overdo it. But unless and until we are confident in our own thought, we will not progress much. अपनी thinking कैसी भी गलत भी है कोई बात नहीं. ठीक है? Because see, whenever we will have one-on-ones, I will also be looking into this copy. But please do it with the intention, this is for your own good. जिसने भी बना रखी है, paper 1 की एक बनेगी, 2, 3. This is the best thing that you can do. Everybody says PYQ करने चाहिए optional में. This is something that will put you leagues ahead. ठीक है? Now, then in this you will also have practice questions. Okay, practice questions में I also share the question paper and I also share the model answers for that, right? Now when you do that, okay, this will also again help you knowing what is to be written. Remember, all of this is expected to be done before the test. Okay, so for example, you've done all of this hard work, and for me this is nothing but your practice. When you give the test is your performance, and your performance is only as good as your practice. Many people just do this part, class करी, सीधे उठ के test दे दिया. and then they will say, sir, this ye nahi hua, ye nahi hua, ye nahi hua, I could not this, right? Of course there will be genuine issues in the tests which we will work on, but what I am proposing, you follow this. This would not take much time, because if you're doing it live with me in the class, you will be very much engaged. Kar loge aap. Second hoga, when you go through the notes, this you have to skim through on some topics. See, IPT वैसे भी बड़ा है, ठीक? This will take some time. And for this batch, earlier what I had done, IPT, WPT I had done in both of them in one class, right? 12 hours, 12 hours, right? Because that was the need of that time. For you people, we will have 4 classes: IPT1, IPT2, WPT1, WPT2. You will be able to digest it even better, right? Had this been between prelims and mains, I would have done it in 2 classes only. But now we have time, right? और उसके साथ में काम भी तो करना है. This will take time. And again, our idea is not to take shortcuts. ये करा, ये करो आप, and this sometimes you don't have to do it in one go. Sometimes it may happen you've written the PYQs, one structuring कर ली, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But this is something that will open up your mind like anything. Same चीज यहाँ पे, practice questions मैंने दिए. If somebody is a working candidate, what they generally do, practice questions, they directly read the model answers. Even that is fine, because now some things are in their mind. Now they write a test. But if you have time, what you should ideally do, first brainstorm. Acha, okay, question is on roles. How will I introduce it? Okay, this is a good introduction. Okay, same. Who was Rawls inspired by? What is original position? You write all the keywords: veil of ignorance, right? Lexical order, reflective equilibrium. Then, acha, who are the main critics of Rawls? Okay, I remember Michael Sandel, Michael Walzer, Charles Taylor. All these 3 are communitarians. Okay, I remember neoliberals. जितनी तेज आप ये एक्टिविटी कर पाओगे ना, उतना बेटर योर आंसर राइटिंग विल बी. अल्टीमेट मेन चीज है. And all of this we are doing so as to get an edge, and to get an edge you have to have time. Okay, this whole activity, people who are writing means they do it in 2 months. आपके पास 4 महीने हैं. तो अब ये कोई नहीं बोल सकता मुझको कि सर we don't have time. This is the time. Now some of you may have joined in June, ठीक है, they would have had more time, ठीक है. But generally speaking, many people avoid these aspects. Class सब करेंगे काफी बच्चे, right? Notes बनाएंगे. So this is something I want this to be set as an expectation, right? Which is why even if you write a test maybe 3 or 4 days later, does not matter. But main thing is you should have a process in mind. And for these questions, again goes without saying, whatever doubts you will have, you can directly ask. You can send a screenshot. You're not able to generate points. If you are thinking, sir, I am thinking, is my thinking correct? वो सब कर सकते हैं. But वो सब तब कर सकते हैं when I see you have put in efforts. ऐसा नहीं है entire screenshots of question and question you are sending me, सर बताओ 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 बताओ. That means you are not putting in the effort, ना. खुद क्या सोच रहे हैं? We should have confidence. हो सकता है आप गलत सोच रहे हो. You're thinking absolutely wrong. That does not matter. Is this part, first of all, you are able to understand? Fine. And so what are we doing? If I were to summarize, you have classes. Roughly, you will have 30 classes for the static portions. Current affairs, you will have almost, I would say, around 8 classes. These will be, by the way, fresh classes. You will also receive 8 classes recorded. This is what I had already taken for the students who are writing the mains of this year. ये जो classes होंगी, इसमें major सारे topics नए होंगे. Okay? If there is a derivative link topic, anyways, we will do it here only. So the 30 classes will help you make short notes that you saw, summaries which we say. This is, in fact, many people only join only for this, but I'm saying why only this? Do the entire part now. Second is classes, right? Third thing, or which also helps you, is your practice questions for the topics. Next, of course, is the test. You have 14 sectional tests, 6 FLTs. This gets evaluation also, and for this you also have one-to-one guidance and even test ka discussion. Right? Now, this part also is there for your accountability, which means if somebody, I think some of you are also there in the older batch of PSIR 300, you know that on every Saturday I will send a post in which I ask you your progress. of PSIR or GS combined, whatever you want to share. Okay, this is something that I do, but there are students who send me daily. This is totally up to them. I will drop weekly reminders. Okay, अब यहाँ पे if I feel you have and in this I ask you your pain points, things you are doing well. This will also humanize the preparation, and specifically the people who are offline should also take benefit of it. देखो वन ऑन वन एक होता है कॉपी के साथ, दूसरा क्या होता है भाई, इफ आई एम स्ट्रगलिंग विद अ सर्टेन पोर्शन, इफ आई एम स्ट्रगलिंग विद माय डिसिप्लिन, प्लान नहीं बन पा रहा, जीएस में स्टक हो गए कहीं भी. Main thing is, generally speaking, when somebody says I'm not able to study, yeah, my productivity is less, the issue may be something totally different. ठीक है, if we are able to resolve that issue, generally speaking, people are able to study. कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है पढ़ना. ठीक है, so here you will get that entire structure ecosystem. When you will see that I am putting in all the efforts, you will also put the same efforts, if not more. ठीक है, ये है. And in addition to this, I am putting this as a star mark. There will be a lot of surprise sessions which I have not even told you yet. Starting from the session of the discussion of PSIR paper, which will happen over a week, which starts first with the analysis of the paper and second with the writing of the paper of each section. And I will make everybody write down the entire paper. थोड़ा uncomfortable लग सकता है, ठीक है, उसकी उस दिन से पहले मैं आपको उसकी रीडिंग्स भी भेज दूंगा. But there will be dedicated time that we will be writing. That will give you a lot of boost. Additionally, so one will be, let's say, the PSIR question paper 2026. Additionally, the moment paper 1A ends, उसको एक revision class करेंगे हम. ठीक है, अब revision class में, for example, how many of you saw my 12-hour revision class of PSIR? किसी को पता है? For this means I had taken a 12-hour end-to-end class of PSIR. ठीक? Of course, it was not for you, people who are going for 2027. But if you revise 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B with me, when you give the exam 2027 May, means you will then understand all of the effort that we are putting in. Okay? So which means scholar, keyword, quotes, etc. पूरा revision होगा. And this kind of revision nobody does. And when you do it, you will have the confidence. In fact, you will then want to put in more efforts for prelims also. कि prelims होना चाहिए. Optional में इतना effort कर रखा है हमने. ठीक है? And in addition to this, these points which we will add. Right? Specifically, anybody who will write a test, जब भी test होगा, उसकी you'll get an update on the discussion. Whenever you attend करना session को, does not matter recorded, offline, online. In my test, see, one thing is you have written the test, you have submitted a copy, but जो भी test discussion करने आएगा यहाँ पे, you will be put under a lot of discomfort. ठीक? पर वो आपके लिए अच्छा है. Almost major questions we will rewrite in the class. I will give you a separate sheet for that. Introduction on the spot. किसी से पूछ सकते हो कैसे सोचोगे. But that will totally, let's say, remove the fear of it. How to think. Main चीज है ना. What I want to equip you is how to think, as simple as that. Other things will take their due course. Second, initially, I am not much concerned with how much time you take. You will be surprised to know people who are writing the test right now, they're taking 2.5 to 3 hours sectional test mein, which ideally should take 90 minutes. But that is okay. Abhi right now our priority is completing the paper. Okay? Not time, but how well are we doing it? Is that there? One second. Is the sound low? See, how to connect paragraphs में Prashant, that depends on question to question. When we will discuss, let's say, respective tests, उसमें ये चीज हम और अच्छे से करेंगे, ठीक है? Then you will get a more clarity on that. How does that particular aspect work? Okay? And paragraph connectivity, maybe the more you write it, better it is. That is there. How many of you are understanding this whole part? Okay? Okay. Now, a couple of things. I think major point I wanted to tell. I usually end the orientation by giving you a small homework. So please write the homework. And after the homework, I'll also take maybe 1 hour. We'll do a quick overview of paper 1A because we are going to start with political theory. Okay? So एक overview लेंगे जल्दी से. so that you know what is to be expected in the coming times. Okay. The homework is divided in two parts. ठीक है? Some of you have already submitted. If there is anything new I'm adding, वो मुझे भेज देना. जो आप भेज चुके हो, that is okay. ठीक है? People who have also done the orientation of 10th August, if there is anything new, only that you incorporate. If you have already submitted, no issues. ठीक है? Because if I want to add anything new, पहले term लिखो. नहीं, चलो आज का होमवर्क थोड़ा नया बनाते हैं, यूनिक बनाते हैं. This is 21st August. Okay. First लिखो. When two elephants fight, it is the grass that shakes. Okay, Aditya, I'll again explain the PYQ brainstorming. फिर से मैं explain करूंगा. When the two elephants fight, it is the grass that shakes. Bracket में लिखो 2026 UPSC essay. It is the grass that shakes. Now, I taught this topic in the context of US-China trade war. Okay, what I want from you, in half a page or max 1 page, you will just brainstorm on this topic or kuch nahi. Okay, when you brainstorm, of course you are PSIR students, think from a PSIR perspective, but any other thing you are able to connect, I am just looking for that. Okay, after you put in some efforts, if you want to use maybe some AI GPT, after you put in efforts, you can do that, but it should not cross 1 page. Simple. Pehla assignment. ठीक है? Second, now second, there are few terms. I usually give terms. Pehla likho. QC digest trap. What you have to do? Who gave the term? Where the term is used. Very simple. A very simple explanation of the term. First लिखेंगे QC digest trap. Any idea what this term is? शोभन सुना है? सुना है? किस country context में? बिल्कुल सही है, correct. Okay. And when you read about it, this is again Graham Allison. What is his book? Destined to? चलो पढ़ना बाद में, ठीक है? I don't want to reveal the answer here itself. First term is this, okay? And you will prepare this in 2-3 lines. That's it. Democratic backsliding and democratic backlash. इसमें one line definition, but for each of them at least I need two examples. Many people get confused. ये होता क्या है? Right? But this is a PYQ 2025. In your PSI current affairs classes, you will see this in more detail. Third, environmentalism of the poor. Fourth one is easy. Many of you will have heard about it. Middle Kingdom complex. Fifth one is dark globalization. किसी ने सुना है? What is dark globalization? नहीं? Any guess you want to make? Okay, और कुछ? सही सोच रहे हो? थोड़ा और सोचो. Ansh, you can easily guess. No, that is okay. You can tell. And unethical, nahi. Dark globalization is about the illegal use of globalization. So think of D company, for example, organized crime, terrorist groups. They use globalization for human trafficking, drug trafficking, arms trafficking, etc. That is dark globalization. Okay? And the last term for this one is techno capitalism. When we do paper 2A, we will also be making a list of all the terms, okay, which you can directly quote in the exam. ये सारे सेशंस मिस मत करिएगा, क्लासेस तो होंगी होंगी. Okay, ठीक है. Now, if anybody offline till now has a doubt, please raise your hand, ask me. Other than that, I think I've already had one doubt from online. Adit's points, how to structure PYQs, which I was telling. देखो, first thing is, whenever you will do a lecture, you will get an idea. But let's say, let's take any PYQ. For example, the PYQ is when I say structuring, पहली बात तो structuring is not answer writing full paragraphs. No, structuring is, in fact, if you recall, Ritesh, हमने करी है साथ में पहले भी. What is structuring? It will have keywords, and if I just see that, I will be directly replicating the entire answer. See, it means structuring for Ujjwal or maybe for Ansh will be different, right? Some of you may just write a keyword, you will be able to expand. Some of you may have to write 3 or 4 words or a line, then you may be able to expand. Structuring is the first thing. When you do structuring, normally my format is I do it like this. I write intro, there will be a body. Generally speaking, I will talk about criticism, okay, and there will be a conclusion. After some time, this will become a habit. This is one way. Somebody can do in a linear horizontal manner, introduction, body, criticism, conclusion. Okay? Ab, let's say this is an easy question actually. Father of political philosophy. Introduction may just think how will you introduce. Ab, this can be based on a quote. This can be by a scholar. We've heard people saying philosophy is Plato and Plato is philosophy, which the quote exemplifies Plato's contribution to Western political philosophy. हो सकता है. Any other thing can be, if you remember, entire Western political thought is nothing but footnotes to Aristotle and Plato. This is a quote-based introduction. तो आपने क्या करा? You will see, अच्छा, how will I introduce that question? शुरू में, this will take you time. But the more you are done with the topics, this part gets easier. Fine? We have done the introduction. When I go to the body, I have to prove this. Why is he the father of political philosophy? Many people make a mistake. They mention all the kahani story, and Plato was sad by this, and this was going on, and that. No, no need. Directly hit the point. Why are we saying he's the father of political philosophy? So there would be at least 4 or 5 reasons, right? Which means Socrates only spoke about dialectics, etc. It was Plato who gave an organized system of political thought or political philosophy in his book. So mention what he talks about in Republic. Talk about his contributions to normative aspect. कैसे बताओगे? Mention theory of forms. Mention reality shadow of ideas. Now, when I'm writing this, this is just a keyword. I will be able to expand as an entire paragraph, right? This is structuring. Okay, then justice, any of this. How is it related to political philosophy? You will be mentioning that. ये हमारी body में बन जाएगा, ठीक है? Now, does anybody criticize this? Plato? Aristotle criticizes. In fact, there is a UPSC PYQ. Aristotle's critique of Plato's idealism. उसमें ये भी है, his philosopher king, for example. A small part will go here. And end with overall contribution. जैसे कि in the overall contribution his thoughts impacted Leo Strauss, influenced later on Rawls, many people. मुझे करने में कितना टाइम लगा इसको? Now the well you know, इसमें आप डिटेलिंग कर लो अपनी. This is a very simple exercise, but many times we don't do this. If you are doing it in a proper manner, your job is more or less done. इस पे हमें फोकस करना है. And many times you rush away, which means, let's say, paper you give me a copy. हाँ, मेरे पास एक कॉपी है, ठीक है? I will write the heading, and whenever this is my first draft, by the way. Many times what happens after doing this topic, after 15 days, if I revisit, I see, अच्छा यार, I can make a better improvement on this. Always remember, answer writing is a continuous process. बहुत बार if you look at toppers, fourth draft, third draft, fifth draft, you should not assume your first draft is the best draft. Simple सी बात है, ठीक है? तो इसलिए one page is for the first draft. Leave 2-3 pages. हो सकता है आपको 1-2 copies extra लग जाएं. That is a time and money well spent. Because let's say if you're doing a class, maybe sometime later, if you see any good point of mine, any model answer में कुछ नई चीज मिल रही है, वो हम incorporate करेंगे इसमें. अब आप कहोगे सर, why don't you ask me to write entire answer? That will take more time. And my idea is, you should slowly steadily develop the confidence कि अगर मैंने इतना कर लिया है, I will be able to write a good answer. Maybe for me, I need to just drop a couple of keywords, I'll be able to expand on it. Maybe for you, you need to write slightly more in the starting and make it as easy and as logical as possible. This I'll be doing in the class itself, and this I'll be doing a lot in the answer writing sessions, which means the test discussions that we have. जहां पे आप 3-4 सेशंस करोगे बार बार, ये ऑटोमेटिक हो जाएगा आपके साथ. And this is something. And finally, the difference will be, if you then remember the facts, etc., तब आप books भी quote करोगे, keywords भी quote करोगे. So our first understanding is, first meet the overall demand, right? First have the base ready. On top of the base, then we do the decoration. Decoration is the specific value addition. Many times people only chase the value addition. अगर base ही नहीं है, no point of value addition. And remember, many times you will ask same question to me. Answer writing में सबसे common सवाल है, sir, if everybody is reading the same thing, why is everybody not getting the same marks? If I read the same content, why I don't get? सबसे common doubt है ये. उसका आंसर मैं आपको बताता हूँ. Your approach sometimes is, sir, tell me a new book, a new material, a new blog, right? That gold, shiny, silver object, sir, that nobody knows. Sir, आप मुझको बताएंगे, and that will help me answer all the questions. The answer is, there is no such source. But then, how do people get more marks? मुझे बताओ, क्यों लोगों को ज़्यादा marks मिलते हैं? Some people get good marks, some people don't. Let me see your understanding, then I'll give you my verdict. And this is the time-tested verdict. Ansh? Interlinkages. Okay. Anything else? Demand. ठीक है. और कुछ? चलो. Actually, you have hit the bullseye. सब कुछ depend करता है demand पे. Again, I'm telling you, when you are on this side, as a teacher or somebody who is a professor or somebody, there is nothing that you can write that they don't know. So don't go in impressing them. Let me find that one keyword nobody knows. Sometimes we have that tendency. Sometimes, अरे नहीं, उस random copy में मैंने एक चीज extra पढ़ डाली थी, उसकी utility नहीं है. In economics, there is a concept of marginal utility, return on investment. The thing that will differentiate you is very counterintuitive. बस. Many people will try to overdo. They will think, यार ये तो सब लिखेंगे. Let me try something else. What they will do? They will digress from the demand. Right? And will give you live examples. Sometimes I give a question. Question है, सिर्फ इतना लिखा है. Define या explain neoliberal theory of state. Some people, in trying to be extra smart, what they do, they bring in so much of current affairs. Right? They give excessive criticism, but they do not explain the simple. भाई किसने theory दी है? What are their keywords? Reaganism, Thatcherism, Hayek, Nozick. But they have mentioned all the new aspects. They will not be getting marks, and they will say, sir, I have written the most enriched content. But does that meet the demand? No. So whenever you are stuck, this is a constant doubt every month you will have. कि अरे sir, this content you are also telling me, my friend is also reading, somebody is reading this. How do I get that marks extra? You will know when you hit that demand. Same is true for GS. Same is true for GS. And in optional, stay closer to academic critics. Right? For example, quoting Mearsheimer in an exam has more value than simply quoting C. Raja Mohan. As simple as that. So stick to the core demand. और ये है सबसे टफ पार्ट. आप कहोगे तो कितना आसान है. एंड इन द क्लासेस आई विल शो यू that not meeting the demand is very easy, and it is all about ratio and proportion. When you eat a good meal, the same thali that you eat maybe X place and Y place, sometimes the experience is different. It is all about proportion, not overdoing it, keeping it simple, but replicating it. And this I will show you in your notes also. Many times you have something written in the exam, in your class notes. अगर आपने याद नहीं किया, नहीं लिख पाओगे अच्छा. And how will you do that? You have to have a method, which means after every class, even though this will be our more of crash course revision classes, I would want you to remember, revise your notes. And you should have a simple principle. If I am showing up for a test, I will give my best. Nothing less than that. जैसे आप प्रैक्टिस अभी कर रहे हो ना, सेम प्रैक्टिस आप करोगे प्रीलिम्स के लिए. Many people just sit up on the spot mock देखा. When they score low, their defense is ready. I was not prepared, I had to take time, right? But this excuse keeps on lingering till the last. So you should have an attitude कि ठीक है, I'm giving 10 days to test number 1. I'll complete my classes, I'll do X, 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 X. I'll give the exam. And based on that, then I will work on the feedback. And on the feedback, you should have a thick skin. Thick skin का मतलब है अगर आपको पता है आपने गलतियां कर रखी, then don't make excuses. It can be simple grammar mistakes, it can be spelling mistakes, it can be things. So we have to know our baseline. Competition आपका अपने आप से है. You're not competing with Mr. X or Mr. Y. Know your baseline, and the good thing is every week you see how better are you with your baseline. The initial 2 weeks are for your classes. For example, the test number 1, which you'll get a schedule most probably, is on the 5th of September. For that, the topic is very simple. Take political theory and theories of state, which means all theories of state. The sectional tests have 9 questions, right? And you will have ample time. In between, you'll also have a current affairs class, and in between, you'll also have the PSIR ka 2026 wali class. Okay? Which is the plan that we have, right? Uske baad se the frequency of the classes will also increase. Okay? But for the first test, the syllabus is very limited. Simple political theory and theories of the state, all of liberal, Marxist, feminist, pluralist, all of that. Okay? Till here, are we able to understand basic idea? Okay. So I'll give you 2 minutes or so. Any doubts if anybody has? After that, I move into paper 1A. People watching this offline, online, let me know. Aditya, I hope now your question is asked. The more classes that you'll also go through, you'll also get to know. Prashant, Mani, other people, if you're watching, any doubts that you have so far? Shobhan, any doubt? You joined in late, what happened? Time issues? You had some class? Acha, you have done that. Acha, then that's okay. Then that's okay. Okay. Actually, I changed the format for orientation. Actually, ठीक है. शंक, कोई डाउट? कुछ नहीं? अभी तो सबको लग रहा है क्या पूछे, अभी काउंटर क्वेश्चन शुरू हो जाएंगे. ठीक है. Okay. Now we'll do a quick overview of paper 1A. Which I refer to as the decoding, in fact, right? Abhi we are going through the quick decoding of paper 1A, right? In this, right now, because we are starting, we need to be sure of what is to be done here. Okay? For each section, I'll just be dropping some keywords, a framework that we have to be aware of. In the respective classes, that will be done in more detail. Fine? And this will almost set the tone of how we are going to interact moving forward. Now, every topic that we have in the syllabus, you will get absolute clarity not only on what is to be read, how to write that, and even how to score more marks. In fact, my classes indirectly also contain a lot of things maybe a topper would have done, something which I know fetches a lot of marks. So the value additions that you get in the class are going to be very enriched, very to the point. Your work is to do that अच्छे से, ठीक है? Now, the first topic that we have is political theory, meaning, approaches, ठीक है? Now, whatever I'll be writing, you can quickly jot that down because I'll not be dictating it. Anything that you find of value, you can note it, ठीक है? Because proper writing and dictation will be continuing from the next class, ठीक है? Class की update, most probably you will have a class on Sunday. The timings you will be updated on the group, okay? The Sunday wali class is going to be current affairs class, okay? The next class, which is probably on Tuesday, is the class on political theory, okay? ये सारी update अब से you will periodically be getting, and most probably by tomorrow your course planner will also be ready. तो उसके हिसाब से you will get the periodic, you will have a clarity, ठीक है? But broad and large speaking, your classes will end almost by the 10th or 12th of December, ठीक है? Including the classes of current affairs. You will have around 8 classes of current affairs. वो मैं फिर से कर रहा हूँ because I want you to have live interaction in current affairs. Because I already had the older ones, but I want to cover new current affairs also. ठीक है? वो आपको काफी edge देगा बाकी aspirants से. So those classes, of course, those classes are also there for the previous batches. So don't have to worry. Achha, one more small announcement for the previous 300 plus batches. All the classes which I'm now going to take, in case you have missed any of the classes, if you want to attend offline, you can attend, no issues. Second, I'll also be posting the streaming link in your channels also. So in case if you want to attend that, आप attend कर सकते हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. But if you have already attended, let's say you've done political theory with me in the previous class, then revise your notes. ठीक है? Then you meet me again in the 2026 wala discussion. In that we will see whether the paper has remained the same or it is changing again. Fine? Now, the very first topic in our syllabus is this political theory. And it says to us meaning and approaches. Okay? Now, in this topic, we need to know, first thing you will write is, what is political? And 1 year back, this was asked as a 20 marker. 20 number का सवाल था. The question was, what are the meanings inherent in the term political? अब सोचो. 20 marks. What are meanings inherent in the term political? Now, like good students that you are, take 10-15 seconds, just simply think what should be there. 20 marker में सोचो. What are inherent meanings? What are the meanings inherent in the term political? Yeah. First dimension is this. अच्छा, anybody who is trying to brainstorm, कुछ सोच रहे थे? अभी कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं आया? Distribution of resources good. Shoban? Same point? बताओ. Anything that comes to mind. What is political? ठीक है, सही है. और कुछ? ओके. ठीक. क्या इतने में 20 नंबर मिल जाएंगे? Of course, you are just only telling me the introduction. The point is, this is a multi-dimensional concept. Okay. Now, you can draw this with me, but of course, we will do this in more detail in the class. This is something which Lars well talks about. Who gets what, when, and how. This is political. What is political? यहाँ पे you can think about thinkers also. Okay. Political. For Aristotle is what? Man is zoon politikon. Let's say somebody like Machiavelli, who treated politics as autonomous discipline. Political, for let's say Max Weber, it is related to state, because state has the monopoly over the use of force. Political is therefore about power, about resource. Political also is about decision making. कैसे पता है हमें? Think of Robert Dahal. The ability to influence decisions. How many of you know personal is political? सुना है हमने? Who spoke about this? Now this is a very quick brainstorming we are doing. Who said personal is political? Aristotle, ठीक है. Was it Aristotle or was it Hitler? Or was it, one second, Mussolini? अगर आप समझ पा रहे हो, मैं आपको ये क्वेश्चंस दे दे रहा हूँ. These are biggest misogynists. They will never say personal is political. This was said by Carol Henisch. Personal is political is related to feminist school of thought. Mussolini used to say, what war is to men, maternity is to women. वो तो कभी नहीं कहेंगे. ठीक है? So this is associated with feminists like Carol Henisch. He says personal is political. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? बहुत बार सुना है. This is a PYQ. Many times it has been asked. ठीक है? Anybody else who wants to tell me same thing? ठीक है? ठीक है, fair. Now, to understand this, you need to understand it was always believed that there is a public sphere. In the public sphere, women are exploited, dominated, which means patriarchy was there in the public sphere, right? Which, so liberal feminists, what they said, we want equality of rights. Let us give us suffrage, right to vote. We want to contest in public spaces, political offices. Okay? But after doing that, and even after giving equal wages, the conditions of women remain the same. Why? Radical feminists say liberal and socialist feminists only demanded simple reforms. It did not do anything with the structure of the system. The structure of the system was patriarchal. Now, patriarchy exists not only in the public sphere but also in the domestic sphere. So personal is political highlights that there is no public-private divide. Everything is governed by patriarchy in the domestic spaces, and which is why you later on have a domestic violence act for dowry. Why is that? There was so much of violence happening only because of the gender. So personal is political tries to question, and it tries to go against the liberal and even the socialist feminism. इसीलिए ये बहुत ही ज्यादा radical ख्याल है. because it tries to expose that even in the public, or sorry, in the private sphere, patriarchy is also operational. That is the main issue. क्लियर है अपने को? रितेश समझ में आया कि नहीं आया? बिल्कुल सही, yes, yes. So ultimately, state is a masculinistic point of view. Policies are from a masculinistic point of view. That is also a point. But can you now link it to political? Political means everything. Political means not only the study of state, study of power relations, study of resource distribution. अब समझ में आ रहा है क्वेश्चन क्या पूछा था आपसे? Meanings inherent in the term political, which is for you, this is not a very easy question जो directly exam में बैठने जा रहा है. Maybe many people have done. Many people, what they do in political theory, they only do one thing: criticism of traditionalist. What is David Easton? What is behavioralism, post behavioralism? कैसे करोगे इसको आंसर? So very first thing you have to know is what is political. पहली चीज. दूसरी चीज, what is political theory? And major things you will understand from political only. Political theory is what? What is theory? Theory tries to explain any phenomena. Okay. So what is political theory? Political theory deals with the conception of what is good. What is a good life? Plato says what is good life? Aristotle, eudaimonia. सुना हमने? What is this term? Yes. What is this? ARETE. लिखो अपने होमवर्क में, write in terms. It's a very important term. And when we do WPT, these terms will be covering, so don't worry. This is just because I'm telling you. So political theory will talk about conception of good. The conception of good may vary for Plato, for Aristotle, for somebody else. It will talk about what a state should be, how a king should be, the ruler should be, what ideals like justice should be. Justice, everybody thinks about. So political theory is dealing with this. But, and a very good way to understand is that political theory it examines man's existence from a critical perspective. Political theory examines man's existence from a critical perspective. Now, take a pause for 10-15 seconds and try to tell me what this quote means. Political theory examines man's existence from a critical perspective. Acha, chalo, I'll give you something that many of you will relate to. Let's say in your childhood, you had given some exam. You go to your parents, you've scored very good marks. When you show them the mark sheet, you will see they are not sometimes very happy. They will say, chalo 90 hai, par yahan bhi sahi ho sakta tha. This you could have done well. Okay, you are not that consistent, but you have gotten good marks. Has that happened with anybody? कुछ लोगों के साथ हुआ है ऐसा? Many of you are nodding. Okay. And again, there are very popular dialogues like कि boss के पास गए and expecting शाबाशी देंगे boss. ठीक, but boss will give you 10 mistakes what you have not done correct. Okay. In fact, if you've seen movie Dhurandhar 2, किस किसने देखी है? After he completes his mission and when he meets, end में I think Sanjeev Sanyal, I think that character, he says, you did good, that's it. And then you understand that he almost lost his life. In this, how am I connecting this? It is not just describing what is life. Political theory does not just say what is your current life. It gives a critical perspective, which means how your life can be better. If a political theory only tells me what is the description of my life, that is very easy. Yes or no? Mere description is easy, which is why it is important to have normative thinkers. Normative thinkers will say what ought to be, kya hona chahiye. So it is critical. Why? It will talk about that even now justice is a concern. Even now this is an issue that you are facing. Hai na? So when I'm saying it is from a critical perspective, it means it goes beyond the current description. It thinks about the ideal. That is a very important aspect. That is what makes it unique. Very good. The statement highlights the scope of continuous improvement. That's a good way to present it. Yes. Okay. That is what is political theory. And there are many thinkers who have thought about it. That tells you the first part, meaning of it. But there are also approaches to it. Now, the approaches can be divided. If I look into the approaches, yes, we have. And we have modern approaches. When I say traditional approaches, we have again approaches like the most popular one here has to be there are of course philosophical approach, there is historical approach, legal institutionalist approach. But these approaches faced huge criticism. And why was that? They were not able to explain World War II. There was a lot of chaos, bloodshed. So people argued that these approaches are more theoretical in nature. They are value based. They are not comparative. They are not very helpful. Which led to, we will see in our classes in more detail, a behavioral revolution. Okay. And after this, we'll see, even this was getting criticized. And we had a post behavioral revolution. Right now, we are just decoding the keywords of the syllabus. The relevant topics will be done in more detail. So that is, of course, going to be done. Right? And almost every year, in fact, we can say without much doubt, this year you'll also see direct questions on this. Directly, they will ask you normative approach to political theory, right? Behavioral approach, criticism. And when you do this, there are two obvious questions that are getting asked. One of the questions they ask you is this: decline of political theory. Very obvious question, again and again, right? And decline, remember, it happened in two phases. This is the first decline. Traditionalist approach faced the decline. Second, the behavioral approach. This approach was about making political science pure science. Facts, facts, facts. But even political science can never become pure science. So this approach also faced a criticism. And we say, if the traditional approaches are the thesis, behavioral is the antithesis, this is the synthesis. So see, one question you will get is decline of political theory. One type of question. Second type of question that you will get is a question on behavioralism or post-behavioralism. Again, in the classes, we'll see 8 pillars of behavioralism, 7 principles of post-behavioralism. And the last kind of question you will get on this topic is resurgence of political theory. If you have prepared these dimensions well, pura topic khatam. All this is the scoping of the let's say topic. I need to know what is political theory. I need to know approaches. Now for approaches, I will discuss a simple framework with you, very easy to replicate, right? What is the introduction? Who are the scholars? What is their view? What is the criticism? What is the conclusion? Prepare karo ek baar अच्छे से, हो गया तैयार. And we'll apply it across the different philosophies, right? And in these topics, we have to be very keyword oriented. For example, if the question is decline on political theory, I will tell you that Alfred Coben, right, who says ultimately political theory is dead. David Easton being very critical initially, but later on David Easton will say in Behavioral Revolution that political scientists are sitting in ivory towers, divorced from reality, right? So we will be seeing that. So if I go back, political theory, if we have done in this manner, first of all, it is a very logical way to complete it, and that gets done. And we end it by examining a couple of quotes. For example, you have Plumnartz, and Plumnartz made a quote which was asked in 2014 ka paper. Purana ho chuka hai, but you should still be aware about it. He says, political theory is not an escape mechanism, but it is an arduous calling. See, any quote that has come before, वो आपके लिए fodder है. Political theory is not an escape mechanism. It is a arduous calling. क्या हुआ इसका मतलब? Political theory is not an escape mechanism. It is a arduous calling. Anybody can guess? Of course, we'll be doing it properly in the class, but if you want to make a guess, what is the essence? Just one line essence. Good. It is dynamic in nature, fair point. But आपने escape नहीं बताया मुझे. What is escape? Why would somebody say political theory is an escape mechanism? चलो, मैं आपको एक आसान सवाल पूछता हूँ. How many of you see that people label somebody as a philosopher? देखा आपने बहुत लोग, अरे तो बाबा बन गए. Who is a Baba? Who is slightly away from the material world? Okay, big theories but does not do much action, yes or no? So when I say political theory is not an escape mechanism, it means many people would believe political theory is an escape mechanism. And the second part of the question says it is the arduous calling. Arduous का मतलब क्या होता है? Difficult. So why is political theory difficult? Any idea? Because thinking about an ideal state, thinking about the values is not an easy task. And political theory's job is not just to describe. It has to continuously resolve so many disputes. Again, we all of us are fascinated by what is justice. But again, imagine if I make you as a philosopher king. For example, we've seen movies, Nayak, one day chief minister. Justice will be very difficult to implement. Yes? So that is why when I say political theory, it is an arduous calling. It is not an easy. So in this question, I have to first talk about the criticism, a general notion of political theory. क्यों लोग समझते हैं? Why people think it is an escape mechanism, but in reality it is not. So even when Plato gives philosopher king, even when Aristotle talks about middle path, right? These things have a practical value also. It may not be 100%, but at least some of it. Do we agree on this? ठीक है, okay. Now second topic in our syllabus is this, ठीक है. Again overview we are having theories of state. Now my personal experiences in this topic, people are good in liberal, fine in Marxist, but other areas they are not very good. And when I say very good, I mean you should have the capacity to write a 20 marker also. Now I want to take a simple poll. How many of you face challenges in 10 markers? 1, 2, 3. How many of you face challenges in 15 markers? And how many of you face challenges in 20 markers? And how many of you don't know whether you face challenges or not? Because you have not written enough. ठीक है, अब देखो, I will tell you practically speaking, जब भी आपकी तैयारी अच्छी होगी ना, आपको सबसे टफ लगेगा ये 10 marker. Having a problem in 10 marker is a good indication that you are doing well in your studies. Why? You say, sir, I know so much, but you only are giving me 2 pages and you are giving me only 150 words. And there will be questions. Rawls justice, your Rawls original position 150 words लिखना है. 10 marker requires extreme precision. No kahani. Some of you, and this maybe you are aware of it, you're not aware of it, you will know some people build the whole background first. You've seen that meme? Jaldi niklo, tumhe panvel nikalna hai, that. This actually happens in answer writing also. You're building the context, and I would be wondering, or the examiners wondering, bhai, come to the point. And again, you are right now laughing, but when I show these copies to you, ye hai 10 marker. Just in the current ongoing mains crash course, the main students, I had given questions on NIEO, NAM. इतना पूरा पेज, यहाँ तक पूरा सब कॉन्टेक्स्ट बढ़ रहा है. The world war is going on, this and that, historical this and that. क्रक्स कहाँ बताया? यहाँ बताया जरा सा. No scope for criticism, no scope for any perspective. Why? Because you are not used to writing in constrained spaces. Some people are coming directly from DU, where they write 10 pages, 8 pages, 9 pages. Right? यहाँ पे if it is a 10 marker, you have to be very precise, very precise. Which means even if the question is on pluralist, post-colonial, कहानी मत सुनाइए. 20 marker में still you can be forgiven, because 20 marker में you have 4. And people who are good with content don't struggle in 20 markers. 10 markers में you have to be very precise. Very short introductions. If possible, directly hit the demand. You don't have much time to waste. Okay? So your clarity should be on that front also. Now, when we do this, theories of state, पहली चीज तो every theory you should be absolutely clear. Now many students have a confusion. Sometimes, please remember, you already have a topic ideologies. उसमें भी you read about liberal, Marxist, okay, even feminist. But in this topic, we are very specific to state. Many people make a mistake. If the question is on feminist theory of state, they write the entire answer on feminism. Now, I want to ask you, are these two things different or not? If they are, tell me. If they are not, tell me. इसी के नीचे क्वेश्चन लिखो feminism versus feminist theory of state. You don't have to write it. I am just bringing some points to you. These are the common mistakes people make. Feminism versus feminist theory of state. I am asking you, are these two same or are these two different? You're not able to make out the difference right now. Huh? Feminism is the whole ideology. Within feminism, there will be a specific feminist theory of state. Same. Liberalism. Many people write entire liberalism in this. नहीं. हमें liberal theory of state पे लिखना है. For example, can anybody just summarize the core essence of liberal theory of state, not liberalism? I will tell you, liberalism is about individual rights. Yes, liberalism is that individual rights should have primacy, they should be protected. What is liberal theory of state in one line? पक्का? अब आपने क्या बोला? लिबरल थ्योरी ऑफ स्टेट आपने किससे जोड़ दिया? फ्री मार्केट इकोनॉमी. ठीक है, यू विल टेल मी व्हाट इज राइट एंड व्हाट इज रॉन्ग विद दिस. यू आर पार्शियली राइट, पार्शियली रॉन्ग. ओके, चलो और कोई. मिनिमल स्टेट आपने भी इनका साथ दिया. ठीक, because he says free market, you say sir I will support it. I think of Adam Smith, I think of Ricardo, I think of a night watchman state. ठीक है, not wrong. और कुछ? सही सोच रहे हो, मतलब गलत नहीं है. बट एक मेन चीज किसी ने हिट नहीं करी अभी तक. लिबरलिज्म इज अबाउट लिबर्टी, बिल्कुल सही है. लिबरल थ्योरी ऑफ स्टेट क्या है फिर? दो मेन चीजें हैं. सबसे पहला, एंड डोंट राइट इट हियर आल्सो, यू विल डू दिस इन मोर डिटेल. सबसे पहला, द लिबरल स्टेट इज बेस्ड ऑन consent. Whose consent? Individual. There is a social contract. Locke is the father of liberalism. Locke is a social contract theorist. There is a state. State is built on consent. इसीलिए इसका आंसर अलग होगा. पहली चीज. दूसरी चीज जो सबने मिस करी यहां पे, according to liberal theory of state, state is a neutral arbiter. ये liberals believe करते हैं. The liberals believe state does not take any position. State is a neutral arbiter. This point is very important. Why? Liberalism जब भी पढ़ो साथ में पढ़ोगे Marxist theory. Marxist theory says ये झूठ है. It is totally false that state is neutral arbiter, because they say state is the instrument of bourgeois class. Yes or no? But I am again emphasizing to you, we are talking of liberal theory of state, Marxist theory of state. State अलग है, philosophy अलग है. Liberalism philosophy is what? Individual rights. Marxism philosophy is social justice, common good. How to do that? State अलग है. Marxist ultimate theory of state क्या है? Communism. Stateless society है. Yes? This is a mistake many people make. Question आएगा liberal theory, they write the entire answer on liberalism. You feel great कि सर मैंने बहुत अच्छे अच्छे points लिखे हैं इस बार, पर आपने you have not hit the demand. Whenever I teach you this topic, I will make sure that you are absolutely clear in your mind between ideologies and theory of state. So when we do this, we are only talking about the nature of state, nothing else. So if the question is on feminist theory of state, हमें सिर्फ बताना है state. How does feminist look at the state? As simple as that. इसके लिए बहुत famous quote भी है. When I look at the state, it appears male to me. Catherine McKinnon. Okay. So you will limit your understanding and here to state. Same. One is post-colonial theory and nature of post-colonial state. Many people struggle in this. Any scholars that you are aware of post-colonial? Abhi dekho hoga challenge, right? When was the last time you had seen your optional? चलो गुड. आपने कोई क्लास पढ़ी है अभी? ये बड़ी रिमेंबर. ठीक है, गुड. he mentioned Amitav Acharya, good scholar. I will quote Amitav Acharya also in ASEAN and also in paper 2A. Hamza Alawi is correct, but Hamza Alawi is the Marxist structuralist who analyzes Pakistan, for example. So he is also post-colonial scholar in that sense. Hamza Alawi gives the theory of overdeveloped state. बहुत पॉपुलर थ्योरी है. ठीक है, गुड. एनीथिंग एल्स? Ahmad same, not directly in post-colonial sense. He is more of a developmental social liberal. ठीक है, okay. Pluralist लिखा है यहाँ पे. Anybody who knows any pluralist? ये आपको कहाँ से याद आ रहा है पहले बताओ. हाँ, but is he a pluralist? I'll say he is not at all pluralist. बिल्कुल सही, पर आप उसको यहाँ से कैसे जोड़ रहे हो? What you saying is absolutely correct in rights. Lee Kuan Yew and Mahathir Mohamad, they gave forth Asian values. Asian values was against human rights. But how are we linking it to pluralist? Not correct. ठीक है, और कुछ? TH ग्रीन से कैसे जोड़ रहे हो बताओ? प्लूरलिस्ट होते क्या है? What is pluralism? Many, multiple. ठीक है? Why Lee Kuan Yew is also not there? Lee Kuan Yew is a huge supporter not of democracy but of dictatorship. So he will be against anything that is pluralist also. ठीक है? In fact, when I teach you democracy, I'll also tell you one of the quotes of Lee Kuan Yew. And Lee Kuan Yew did not support democracy. There's a Lee Kuan Yew versus Amartya Sen debate. Sen says democracy is important for development. Lee Kuan Yew says democracy is antithetical to development. ठीक है? हाँ. You said TH Green. TH Green we will be doing यहाँ पे. When we do liberal theory of state, liberalism में there are three strands. Classical liberalism, positive liberalism, neoliberalism. Positive liberalism में you have TH Green. ठीक है? That we'll see there. But यहाँ पे चलो pluralist anybody. अभी I've already given you one answer. So I'll tell you the concept. You'll tell me who is a thinker. This is a concept, very popular concept, polyarchy. Who gave this? Chalo, very good. People online, very active. बताओ. Robert Dahal. Okay. Abhi bhi, it's okay if you're not able to recall it right now. You may not be very well versed. You may have not revised it. That's absolutely okay. Again, we'll see MacIver. We will see Lasky. Lasky gives a statement. If authority is federal, sorry, if society is federal, authority should be federal. Society may there is multiple centers of power. So he says authority should have multiple centers of power. This also we will examine. ठीक है? यहाँ पे नहीं आएगा. जो आप सोच रहे हो, चलो मैं आपको इसको पेपर 2A में समझाता हूँ. Let's take the term pluralist, okay, and let's put it in paper 2A. You know what is paper 2A? Comparative politics, theory of IR, right? अब देखो, यहाँ पे दो चीजें हैं. Now, the traditional model of sovereignty is the billiard ball model. In the billiard ball model, you know billiard ball? Every nation state, every state is indivisible entity. These are strong, impermeable states. This is how the world was. सब अपने अपने में आपस में जी रहे हैं. Every state. State is not dependent. State is autonomous. This is the traditional. इसको बोलते हैं billiard ball model. Okay. Arnold Wolfers gave this. Strong, independent या impermeable states. Cobweb model क्या है? You know cobweb? Cobweb is what? Interconnected. So think of a cobweb model. Now everybody is interconnected. Now this, if you think of, सबसे best example क्या है? Globalization. Now countries are trading with one another. Think of Cold War. The moment Cold War ended, disintegration of USSR 1991. What happened? Most of the countries started to do free trade. Right? So this will lead to something known as complex interdependence. This is a concept related to Robert Keohane and Joseph Nye, N-Y-E. So there are two different models. Cobweb model is the model when there was no globalization. States were very strong actors. They were independent, strong, impermeable. What is that known as? Billiard ball model. The second one is cobweb model. cobweb model में क्या है? कॉम्प्लेक्स इंटरडिपेंडेंस है. इज दैट क्लियर? ठीक है, यहां से आप जोड़ सकते हो. ठीक, अब इसमें भी देयर आर मेनी इश्यूज व्हिच वी विल सी. फॉर एग्जांपल, प्लूरलिस्ट विल से many people or many institutions are there, but if I go into reality, only the rich institutions, powerful institutions have the power. If I look at US में ये बहुत पॉपुलर है, military industrial complex, right? And they have the power. They determine who's going to fight the war or not. इसमें क्या है? It is money. So it is not that any institution has the power. The institution which has economic power has the power. That is what? Marxist analysis. ठीक है? Keep that in mind. This will be more useful in paper 2A. ठीक है, अभी के लिए if you have just made a quick reading, noting of it, more than sufficient. Of course, this will do in more detail in paper 2A. ठीक है? I hope you have an idea on this. Now, third topic is this, and I'm mentioning exact points that are there in the syllabus. Now, when you see justice, this is how we have to prepare. Justice is what? Conceptions of justice with special reference to. अब यहाँ पे लोग क्या गलती करते हैं? जस्टिस में दे ओनली रीड रूल्स एंड दे गो टू द एग्जाम. फिर एग्जामिनर कहता है लेट मी गिव यू अ सरप्राइज. तो एग्जामिनर हैज आस्क्ड यू एंटाइटलमेंट थ्योरी ऑफ जस्टिस. हु हैज गिवन दिस थ्योरी? बताओ. और कोई? एंटाइटलमेंट थ्योरी ऑफ जस्टिस. हु हैज गिवन? ये PYQ है. दिस विल आल्सो टेल मी हाउ वेल प्रिपेयर्ड यू आर. नहीं भी है तो मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. Entitlement theory of justice. Only one person has given the right answer so far. बताओ. Nozick. Okay. Now you will read about it when you see the criticism of Rawls. Rawls has been criticized by Nozick. Okay. And Nozick gives the entitlement theory. So if you read your syllabus, of course you have to know Rawls theory in and out. But you should also know, because they are saying special reference to Rawls. Rawls is the core focus, but around Rawls, the debates that are there should be prepared. First issue is, अब Nozick happens to be a neoliberal. They've asked you. At least 50% of questions on Rawls will be based on this. आधे क्वेश्चन ये होंगे. Communitarian critique. Who are the communitarians? एक टेलर आ गया. One sandal. These three people are communitarians. Michael Walzer, Michael Sandel. Michael Sandel is the person who made these very good ethics videos. How many of you have seen those? ये सुना है इनके बारे में? Very popular ethics videos, right? And then of course Charles Taylor. But this is the most repetitive question that you can get on this topic. So majorly either question comes on Rawls theory of justice, and you now know if the question is on Rawls theory, you have to include communitarian critique. It is mentioned in the syllabus, even if they don't ask you directly, right? Charles Taylor, Michael Sandel, Michael Walzer. Other than this, what I need to know? Entitlement theory of justice has been asked in PYQ. Now, what has not been asked but can be asked? So when we do, I will also do with you expected topics. नीति वर्सेस न्याय डिबेट. ये किसकी डिबेट है? Rawls versus Amartya Sen. A very probable question. This is known as the Niti versus Nyaya debate. Rawls focuses on Niti. What is Niti? Procedure. Sen focuses on Nyaya. Nyaya is outcome. This is known as the Niti versus Nyaya debate. Is that clear? ठीक है? That is what we have to understand. What is justice? Then, very short topic, but you will see many times what people do. They over prepare Sometimes people, even right now, IPT WPT completion, they take 1 month. How many of you have been guilty of that in some time of your life? और उससे भी ज्यादा शायद, ठीक है? उससे क्या होगा? ना, again very practically speaking, 1A has 10 topics. IPT WPT combined will not give you more than 40 marks. अब बताओ, मतलब out of 1 जो भी marks हैं, you are over putting the time. Why not cover all the small topics first? इससे भी तो सवाल आएगा ना पेपर. If you are a question paper setter, you will make sure every topic is referenced in the paper. Mostly, it is not that they will ask you every question on one thinker, every thinker one question. No. When I say equality, equality is social, political, economic. Sometimes they ask you a simple question on equality. You add the dimensions from the question paper itself, from the syllabus itself. Second, ये आंसर हम क्लास में लाइव प्रिपेयर करेंगे. It's a very beautiful question. The relationship between equality and freedom. आपके हिसाब से what is the relationship between equality and freedom? Without freedom, but why are you saying this? तो ये आप किसी की बात कर रहे हैं, किसी बड़े इंसान की. हाँ, ऐसे शब्द नहीं बोलने जो बोल नहीं पाएंगे, प्रोनाउंस कर पाएंगे. यू आर सेइंग इमेंसिपेशन. और कुछ आसान शब्दों में बताना है. आई एम आस्किंग यू व्हाट इज द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन, व्हाट आर यू थिंकिंग, व्हाट इज इक्वालिटी? इक्वालिटी होती क्या है? अब आप इक्वालिटी से, इक्वालिटी मीन्स फीलिंग इक्वल. व्हाट इज इक्वालिटी? दैट इज लिबरल कंसेप्शन. If you say equal opportunity, I can also say equal outcomes. That is the socialist conception, right? अब इस सवाल को समझो. Very easy way to understand it. Think of a liberal society. Think of a socialist society. Liberal society में which is the bigger value? Equality or freedom? Freedom. In liberal societies, they say if you give equality, freedom will be restricted. Who can bring equality? State. Liberal societies don't want enough of state. जहां भी स्टेट आएगा आपकी फ्रीडम जाएगी. State will take away your freedom, as simple as that. Yes, that is the liberal idea. According to the liberal, and I will say classical liberal and neoliberal, they believe liberty is the most important. In fact, people like Nozick criticize Rawls. वो क्या बोलते हैं? That Rawls, in his attempt to balance equality and liberty, okay, achieves neither. He is not able to achieve anything. This is a criticism of Rawls by neoliberals. If I go into a socialist society, they will say, in the name of freedom, freedom is only there for bourgeois class. Freedom is only there for industrialists. Everybody else is getting exploited under capitalist system, which leads to alienation. So when I look at relationship, can I say for major time this relationship was antithetical? Means if I go for freedom, I miss on equality. If I go for equality, I miss on freedom. But in the modern times, this relation is being reimagined. In the modern times, both of them can coexist with each other, and the best work done on this is nothing but Rawls, Dworkin, Amartya Sen, तीनों ने काम किया इस पे. अब आप देखो, जस्टिस पहले पढ़ा आपने, जस्टिस इज डायरेक्टली बीइंग अप्लाइड. Just an extension of what we have done. Okay, because Rawls tries to balance both equality and liberty. How many of you remember Rawls gave something known as a difference principle? सुना है? Difference principle. What is difference principle? Also write this as a homework, one line. Difference principle means क्या होता है बताओ? Inequality is justified only if it helps the least advantaged section. Inequality is justified if it helps the least advantaged. सबसे simple example. If I am taxing the crorepati 50% of tax, that is inequality, because a poor person is put 0% tax. But why is the 50% tax justified? Because that extra money can help in tackling poverty. right? If you go for progressive taxation, यही तो है progressive taxation. You tax the rich more, you tax the poor less. Why? But this is inequality. But you are justifying that inequality because it helps in the betterment of the least advantaged section of society. How many of you agree with this? How many of you understand this? ठीक है? What I just explained to you is known as difference principle. Now, a topic that is very much in news in the current debate right now. There are debates related to reservation right now. हमने शब्द देखा affirmative action. As a student of political science, we will see all the debates. We will see the pros and cons and how scholars have interpreted reservation. जितने डिबेट आप सुनते हो, कॉमन मैन आर्ग्यूमेंट, उससे ज्यादा स्पेशलाइज्ड डिबेट्स हम देखेंगे. And you will know this topic in and out. In fact, I will quote the most recent works of Michael Sandel also. Michael Sandel, couple of years back in COVID, during COVID and after COVID, he wrote a book, The Tyranny of Merit. Many times for reservation, a case is made that it dilutes the merit. उन्होंने इस चीज पे बुक लिखी हुई है, सिर्फ इस टॉपिक पे, that the argument that it dilutes merit is also a flawed argument. Why? Merit is socially constructed. Is something that we'll also examine. So again, if you notice, these are small sections. Directly they will ask you affirmative action 10 marker, relationship between equality and freedom 15 marks. लिखो बैठ के, ये आप पहले से prepare कर सकते हो. Now, what they did in 2025. Again, you should know the patterns. Achha, by the way, just be honest. How many of you, apart from you, how many of you have gone through the 2025 paper? आप तो चलो लिख के ही आए थे. हाँ, अच्छे से देखा है? किस किसी ने अच्छे से नहीं देखा है? Honestly बताओ. नहीं देखा है, ठीक है? I am not asking you to watch my video. I have taken a deep analysis on that. No issue. I just want you to read that paper. ठीक है? Maybe sometime, whenever you find time, I have also taken videos of both paper 1 and paper 2. They're available on YouTube. You can see that. अभी शायद इतना टाइम नहीं होगा आपके पास. अभी के लिए सिर्फ रीड करके आएंगे, देखेंगे what is expected out of you. For example, in fact, in this they had asked you the relationship between these two values in a multicultural society. यहां तक सेम है, सिलेबस में है. One keyword they've added is a multicultural society. अब हमें पता होना चाहिए वही what is multiculturalism. सुना है टर्म? What is multiculturalism? बता सकते हो? What is it? और कुछ? Are you confusing it with clash of civilizations? Chalo, anybody else in one line, if you have to summarize, what is multiculturalism? What is multiculturalism sad about? What it is not happy with? सोच के बताओ. बताओ. हाँ, good. Multiculturalism is sad about anything that is homogenizing in nature. Liberalism क्या करता है? हर चीज को homogenize. Uniform rights, universal rights, human rights, globalization. Multiculturalism say each culture has its own values. Do not homogenize. If you homogenize, it is simply that one value becomes more important than the other. Clear है अपने को? Yes. Finally somebody is saying, although we will, when we do in the class, we'll see Will Kimlicka, we'll see Bhiku Parekh. ठीक है? हो जाएगा याद, करेंगे क्लास में. That is one, equality. After equality, one second. Okay, there is also, अच्छा ये यहाँ पे चला गया है. Okay, fifth is rights. Very short topic. Every year you will see questions on this. And again, our idea, anybody is following this online, we need to know the syllabus first in and out. अब देखो राइट्स में क्या क्या लिखा है. मीनिंग ऑफ राइट, थ्योरीज ऑफ राइट्स. So we'll understand what is rights, right? कौन से तरह के राइट्स होते हैं? Of course you can know. Can you have legal rights? Can you have political rights? can you have economic rights, and you can go even you can have social rights. Normally, people get these rights. Economic rights, think of DPSPs, think of fair wages, right? Think of social, think of right to livelihood, Olga Tellis case. Think of right to food, social may. Think of the right to menstrual hygiene, which case? Correct, right? Dr. Jaya Thakur case, 2026. Ab dekho, this is something that we need to know. And when we discuss, we'll also discuss Karl Vasak, the different generation of rights. Okay, first generation, second generation, and then a very important concept and a very politicized concept, human rights. And here, when I discuss with you, I will give you example of Gaza. Human rights are mostly political in nature. For example, best example is kya hai to prove it. When Russia invaded, or I will say annexed Crimea 2014, and when it attacked Ukraine, everybody was shouting human rights, human rights, human rights. But when Israel is doing a lot of actions around the West Bank and the Gaza region, West will be, so this is known as almost a what should I say? Hypocritical view of West. This is nothing but hypocrisy. Even this can be a potential question that can be asked in either in 1A or even in 2A. Human rights is also a topic mentioned in 2A. So we will prepare in a manner that equips you with this kind of questions. इसमें जब आप पढ़ोगे, then we will answer. Right? You are mentioning about rights. आपने बताया था, you were talked about Lee Kuan Yew. यहाँ पे आ जाएगी debate वो. Mahathir Mohamad Lee Kuan Yew. Many times you know, but you don't know where to put it in the syllabus. Right now, my simple objective is helping you give an overview. Sometimes you think, sir, is it necessary? These points are necessary. Right? So, यहाँ पे the debate of Asian values, very important. Okay? Then, very short but question that is asked every year. You will be getting a question on this. Democracy. Now, if you just prepare this representative, participatory, deliberative, your job is done. This is what they ask you. You need to know notes on this. If you want to go one step ahead, you prepare this person. The most analytical work on democracy has been done by C.B. Macpherson. And C.B. Macpherson talks to us about extractive power, developmental power. And he says that there are contradictions in democracy even in the West. He's critical of that. He's saying democracy normally is only procedural. And he argues democracy should be substantive. Okay? Is that clear? Procedural, substantive, that part you'll also understand. C.B. Macpherson. Other than that, directly completing these topics, deliberative, participatory. Here I'll introduce you to a lot of scholars like Habermas, okay, and a lot of good points. J.S. Mill, Rousseau, okay. Democracies are very good. In fact, I'll tell you what is Schumpeter-Dahl axis. बहुत अच्छी चीजें सीखेंगे यहाँ पे. Again, we will understand the elitist theory of democracy, pluralist theory of democracy, just like there is a elitist or a pluralist theory of power. ठीक है? Again, high yielding. If you have seen the paper again of 2025, UPSC ने क्या पूछा आपसे? C.B. Macpherson's view of power. अब आप चक्कर खा जाओगे, आप सोचोगे ये तो मैंने democracy में पढ़ा है. But the point is, what is democracy? Empowerment of the people. You had to just write the same concept there. Same concept. Okay? So keep this in mind. Achha, by the way, how our handouts are designed for every topic, all the respective topic wise logically arranged PYQs. I've seen even this is a hassle sometimes. Sometimes we go to the Vishal wala book. Vishal wala book mein things are not logically very arranged. What simple the concept of personal is political, they've added to some other topic. They've not added it in feminism. in fact. So your handout will always have the PYQ at the top and then whatever you write later on. So whenever you want to quickly know, am I on the right track? Class के बाद क्या करना है हमें? Structuring करनी PYQs की, whenever you find time. And if you are, let's say, आपको लग रहा है you've already done a lot of work, next day, take 20-30 minutes. PYQ structuring and go question by question. 2 questions कर लिए, 2-3 question कर लिए, हो जाएगा फिर धीमे धीमे, है ना? Now, another important topic, power. This is a topic which has a lot of linkages. For example, when I see power, अब यहाँ पे I'll tell you many thinkers. There is elitist theory we will do. There is pluralist theory that we will do. Max Weber, so on and so forth. But we will again do Hannah Arendt. We will also do postmodernist theory of power, Foucault's theory of power. Hegemony, जैसे मैंने बोला, I'm talking of Gramsci. Gramsci is indirectly mentioned again in the syllabus. When I do ideology, we will have to do 2 things. End of ideology and one is end of history. बताओ, who has given each? Fukuyama सुना है हमने? What has Francis Fukuyama given? End of history. आप सुना है हमने Francis Fukuyama? Francis Fukuyama is a socialist or a communist? हाँ फिर ठीक है, फिर ठीक है, okay, correct. हाँ, so end of, see, sometimes you have a confusion. End of ideology is a topic or concept related to Daniel Bell. This is related to Fukuyama, Francis Fukuyama. End of history and the last man. And then he says, liberalism is the end point of man's ideological evolution. Legitimacy में किसको पढ़ेंगे? Both. Habermas. ठीक है? Again we'll see Max Weber. You know what is authority? Power, authority, legitimacy. What is authority? सुना हमने? People say you have the authority to do that. What is authority? और कुछ हाफ डेफिनेशन बता रहे हो सब लोग. लीगल पावर, इसको बोलते हैं महापाप. देखो, consent when you're saying, see, authority when you're saying as a student of PSIR, authority का सिर्फ आंसर according to Max Weber. ये किसी को नहीं याद है? According to Max Weber, authority is power combined with legitimacy. When you say, see, so this is Max Weber, and Max Weber, if you recall, has 3 things, 3 types of authority. कौन सी हैं? Rational, legal, सुना है? Charismatic. अभी धुंधले हो गए कॉन्सेप्ट थोड़े से, ठीक है, we'll work on it. When you mention consent, see, consent is correct, but consent can be manufactured. That is the idea of Gramsci, right? Through intellectuals, through civil society, right? Okay. I hope this part is clear. Okay. And then the last, because IPT, WPT pe, so these are respective topics of their own. A very interesting segment, political ideologies, right? Most interesting segment according to me. Now, when you see this, liberalism, every year question comes almost. Socialism, what is this? अब कहोगे सर सैटर्न लग रहा है, मैंने ये क्यों बनाया होगा? You were saying something? There's a quote by C.E.M. Joad, J-O-A-D. Socialism is like a much used hat which has lost its shape. That is the reference I wanted to make. If you think of this as Saturn, this is a hat. Okay. We'll see this. This has been a PYQ. And when I'm saying it is a much used hat, we know there are so many types of socialism by Fabian socialism, democratic socialism, syndicalism, right? So many types are there. Guild socialism. Of course, there is Marxism. And Marxism is one topic. Many of you don't have a good idea. Everybody knows till Karl Marx. Jahan aayenge Lenin, and after Lenin, Mao, Trotsky, etc. They've asked you a quote. This is, I'm telling you, this is a tough question. They've asked you revolution in permanence. ये ट्रॉट्स्की का कोट है, आप नहीं लिख पाओगे इस पे. Again, I have to tell you some portions which are difficult in nature, so that is why Marxism I will do in slightly more detail, maybe slightly more detail than your conventional notes. Because everybody has good idea till Marx and Gramsci, but after that, how to interpret it, it will be difficult to write. So this is what we will also expand on. Fascism is a topic this year in 2025 they had asked you. In 2025 they had asked you comparison between, yes, Germany and Italy. So Germany, Hitler, Italy, Mussolini. Okay, that is there. But we will again see new type of questions that can be asked. Fascism mein, what is fascism, etc. Gandhism directly overlaps with IPT. IPT mein we see Gandhi as a thinker. And last thing is feminism. Fine. Feminist theory of state and feminism are two separate entities. Okay, that is there. Passing reference is this, which will be expanded on. IPT has all these things, sare ke sare. And after your classes here, you will not fear IPT. Because many times if I see questions of Buddhist political thought, let alone any thinker, you don't have even good notes on that. Likhna kaise, sochna kaise hai. Fine. Similarly, Aurobindo, almost every 3 years you will get one question on cultural, spiritual nationalism of Aurobindo. It can be 15 marks. How to write that? See? Again, the two biggest topics here is Ambedkar and Gandhi. By the way, if you don't do IPT, आपके नुकसान बताता हूँ. पहला नुकसान एक. Second issue is this. Gandhism weak हो जाएगा. तीसरा और सबसे बड़ा issue, your Indian nationalism, paper 1B, many linkages are there with IPT. Almost every third question in IPT, or sorry, paper 1B can have a reference of Gandhi or Ambedkar. Every third or fourth question, they present. See, Gandhi is also there in planning and economic development. Gandhi versus Nehru. Gandhi versus Ambedkar, social justice. Gandhi versus Ambedkar, perspectives of national movement. Many things are linked. ये एक part आपको, you have to make sure you have to follow. And again, for your ease, this will be done over a span of 2 classes. Just 1.5 months back, I have taken a very long class, also already available on YouTube. But this we will do, proper notes बनाएंगे, कुछ questions लिखेंगे भी class में, so that you are able to retain it better. And then paper 1B, 1A, the last topic that is there is WPT. Okay, starts with Aristotle. Now, when I had started my class on WPT, I started that with Hobbes. The reason was I generally feel people are comfortable in these, especially first 3 thinkers. Okay? Not saying that you're very comfortable, I can still pose tough questions. And not me, I'll say the recent PYQs are not as easy. And here my perception sometimes is, especially these last, people are not as great. इसमें मुश्किल होता है. This year again a question was on Vita Activa, the conceptual triad of labor, work and action. Hannah Arendt. Same. Gramsci pe, if you get a 15 or a 20 marker on hegemony, let me see how many of you can write it. Oh, hegemony mein har line mein consent, manufactured consent. This same cheese again, war of position, war of maneuver. Then this. So sometimes the vocabulary you don't have with Gramsci. क्यों? Benedetto Croce याद नहीं होगा, references याद नहीं होंगे. You don't know how the story is sometimes. So you need to know also where you are struggling, and you should put more efforts on those areas, right? Marx anyways will always be important figure. Mill. When we do Mill, I will focus more on criticism of Mill. Mill is said to be a reluctant democrat and is a prophet of empty liberty. ये दोनों चीजें आ चुकी हैं सवाल ही यही था. Mill as a prophet of empty liberty. सोचो. It means his promises are hollow when it comes to it. So when you do the thinker, see, understanding is one, answer writing is one. Please know the distinction between the two. Of course, the very one step is always understanding. But like I've mentioned, PYQ structuring should go, revision should happen. So again, just to again clarify, that if you want to score good marks, effort is needed. Effort is the only differentiator. Effort needs consistency. Consistency needs a plan, and you have to execute a plan. Okay. In that, I can be an enabler. Think of me as a catalyst. In many cases, we will have proper classes, but you will have to put in your efforts. As simple as that. Okay. Any other doubt anybody has? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. We have already exceeded our time. Okay. Okay. Again, anybody who has watched the session, both for people offline and online, one small thing is, whatever is your takeaway, learning from the session, you can drop that as a YouTube comment for the session that is there. ठीक है? जो भी आपको लगा आपके काम की चीज थी, anything that you learned from the session. So we have done two things. We have done the orientation also. Orientation is a simple format. Whenever you get time, preferably today, I think you may get late when you reach. By tomorrow, just the homework I've given you. I've asked you to do brainstorming of that essay quote. Second is 6 terms I think I've given you. वो करके आपको मुझे भेजना है with your name. Okay, that is to be there. Anybody who has joined this late, you already have a Telegram group. अच्छा यहाँ पे किस किस ने Telegram group join करा है अभी? कर लिया है ना? You've joined it. ठीक है. For this particular section, there is a Telegram group. Some of you may have also seen this as a demo class. So whenever you join it, there is a respective group on which you will be getting all the updates. ठीक है? I think that is fine. If you again want to have some more details, you can connect with the team on this number. ठीक है? Again, the team will help you out. The people who are enrolled in the course, I'll also be sharing my number with them if they want to have any doubts, any discussions. ठीक है? ये करेंगे. The next class का update most probably by today and or tomorrow you will be getting it. I'm planning to have a class on Sunday. ठीक है? But Sunday वाली class I will have it at least before. मतलब I will complete the class around 4:30 or so, because exactly at that time the GS4 paper खत्म होगा, and then a lot of queries will start with कि अभी last के 5 दिन में क्या करना है, this and that. So I'll take maybe some time I'll have to spend there. ठीक है? Sunday को जो मिलेंगे, at least we will have 2-3 very good topics, very recent in news, especially in July and in August. ठीक है? So you'll also get to understand how current affairs is to be done with proper notes and answer in the class. ठीक है? उसके लिए I'll just maybe have a word. What is the right time to have it? ठीक है? I don't think there's any other doubt. ठीक है? For the people who have come in offline, you can just stay for a minute. You can, if you want to have a word with me. Okay? Okay, then thank you so much. Any other doubt, you drop it as a YouTube comment. I'll try to answer that. Okay?